You arrive at Dubai International Airport. You are carrying a bag full of gold. I mean, full. Gold bars, jewelry, chunks of raw, unrefined gold. Full. Everyone from your flight walks towards passport control, but you wheel your carry-on bag the other way, towards the transit terminal. You sit down at a cafe, and a short while later, another traveler appears. He puts his bag down, picks yours up, and walks the other way. You finish your coffee, pick up his bag, and board the next flight back to where you just came from. You don't open the bag, but you know that inside is $2.5 million in cash. I know, it sounds like a bank heist, right? But this is how more than 400 tons of smuggled gold enters the UAE every year from Africa, worth around $30 billion. And here's the thing, once that smuggled gold is melted, refined, and sold on the market in Dubai, it becomes 100% legal. As a new gold rush is taking over the world, driving up the price of gold to historic levels, the UAE has strategically turned itself into a global hub for gold and gold laundering, and has done this partly through financing civil war in Africa, and in particular Sudan, where a brutal all-out war has waged for more than a year between the country's military and a rogue mercenary army that's figured out how to exchange gold for weapons. Now, the UAE's role in Africa is complicated. It's a weave of land purchases, regional influence, and access to the vital trade routes along the Red Sea. But the unfettered flow of gold has become the grease that oils its relationship with Sudan and its neighbors. A flow that continues unabated by war or political turmoil. So, how is this happening? And how is it fueling the war in Sudan? My name is Mohammed Hassan, and this is The Big Picture.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Pardon me. Let me just pause this video. Okay. Um, mic check, mic check. Can y'all hear me? Looks like I got volumes on my end. As you can see, Abby's not quite with me just yet. She's just being delayed a little bit, dealing with her mother, and she should be with us before the end of the stream, if not shortly. How's it going, everyone? Hope you had a good week. This week we're going to be talking about Sudan. That video that I was just playing was from Middle East Eye. It's called Russia, the UAE, and Sudan's stolen gold, the big picture. That's kind of a good sort of place for a preliminary starting kind of investigation sort of thing. But if you really want to get into it, you probably got to do some reading. So I got a bunch of articles for you guys. But I do kind of want to trying to play some of the videos and stuff that I've been watching on this kind of conflict as well. Just always a bit worried about when I play the videos from my end, if they're a bit laggier than if Abby were here to play them from her end. I still have not really done much to solve my computer problems. I haven't really been trying, to be honest. I've just been distracted by more important things in life than solving technical problems on a computer that's getting too old. So it's a constant battle. So anyway, how's it going, Cobra Commander and Kieran Pine, driving me Macy? Indy's probably not here anymore. He just or driving or something. Just popping in to say hi. But if he's still there, what's up, Indy? So I was watching Sabby earlier. I think it was yesterday or the day before. She had a good interview with a Sudan expert. I think he maybe a journalist from Sudan. I'm not quite sure. I only really caught his first name. I was kind of intent on other research, so I didn't take the time to determine who this expert is really. But I'll just play the video from Sabby for a moment while we give Abby a chance to possibly join us, and so that we can get a little bit, if you guys missed it, I'm sure a lot of you guys watching my channel maybe, or you already watched this Sabby interview, you already know, But for anyone tuning in later, newer viewers, newer subscribers, people who don't necessarily follow all the independent media podcasters, all this kind of stuff is likely going to be brand new information. And sharing an interview from Sabby when they do good work and stuff like that is probably a very important way for me to get information like clearly out to people without kind of putting too much of my own bias into things. When they have access to some kind of more professional journalists and stuff, hopefully we'll get there one day, but we're kind of a little bit more low profile and amateur kind of, not so much journalistic on this channel, but we do what we can. So let's see what we have here. Let me share my screen here. Okay, so my computer's telling me that my browser has lost connection to my screen share audio. Yeah, I'm having a lot of problems with StreamYard. So at least you can still hear me. That's a different problem that I haven't had quite yet. So let me just figure this out for a minute. Yeah, lost connection to my screen share audio again. Let me just play it and tell you guys, let me know if you can hear any of it.
What's going on, Masab?
Hey, Sabrina. How are you doing? Thanks for having me
When you
on.
guys hear the video.
Thank you so much for joining. This has probably been one of the most requested topics from viewers that watch the show. They do want someone to explain what exactly is happening in Sudan and if the U.S. is involved. So I want to start with this article here for those who are not aware. From space in Sudan, it says it shows evidence of the Darfur genocide. Now I know.
So I'm hoping anyone's out there could give me a little heads up in the comments of whether or not you can hear the audio from the video, because I was getting a message from StreamYard saying that it got interrupted. But I often find if you just reset it, the glitch takes care of itself, but not always. So hoping one of you guys can let me know that the audio is coming out clearly on the video, because I've seen a lot of podcasters, they're trying to play their stuff and this happens all the time. Okay, good. Somebody can hear it. That means probably most of you, if not all of you, can hear it then. How's it going, Jacqueline? Good to see you. Mouse, what's up? We're just waiting on Abby to join us. You're not the only one who's late. Don't feel bad. I'm not too much of a stickler on people being on time and stuff. I appreciate that life isn't exactly on time like that. Got to give people grace, but I do like to do my best myself to try and be on time, if not a little bit early. But feel like those with high anxiety are better at being on time, kind of thing, and that's not necessarily a good thing. So just learn to enjoy the moment. So this is actually a good moment to pause here, because I'm going to go a little bit more into depth on this claim. I was immediately skeptical when I heard this narrative about we've got satellite images that are showing blood visible from space. Really, a satellite can tell you that the stain on the ground is blood? Really? I don't think so. I think that I didn't really find any article on it, but I was just searching up this. Allegations of blood visible from space are a hoax. And at least the AI, whatever, that's on everything now, this is what it has to say about that. The idea that blood can be seen from space is often linked to sensationalized reports or conspiracy theories. These claims, the idea that blood can be seen from space, these claims typically arise during discussions about significant events such as wars or disasters where imagery is misinterpreted or exaggerated. Objects or phenomena must be large and distinct to be visible from space. Blood, being a liquid and often dispersed, does not meet these criteria. The Earth's atmosphere and the distance from space make it difficult to see small details, including blood. Images taken from space, such as those from satellites, do not show blood. They capture large-scale environmental features, urban areas, and natural landscapes. In the current digital age, misinformation spreads rapidly. Claims about visible blood often gain traction on social media, where emotional narratives can overshadow factual evidence. The phenomenon reflects a broader trend where scientific facts compete with personal beliefs and emotions, leading to misconceptions. And it's kind of silly. The links that it gives me are completely unrelated. So there's not really the algorithms of these different softwares are not really. If you have certain queries there, they're going to come up with ridiculous, spurious sources, and then the AI will give perfectly good information, but will have no source to back it with because it's been programmed to cherry pick these ridiculous kinds of, like NASA and Kim Kardashian. That seems like you're using those kinds of keywords or name drops kind of thing for the algorithm to get distracted by, so it doesn't actually call up a factual source instead. But maybe I might as well just get into it now. But I was kind of curious immediately about the satellite thing. I'll get back to the savvy thing, I guess, in a moment. Maybe this is good. Just context kind of thing. So good. So satellite images reveal grim evidence of mass burial after RSF seizes Sudan's El Fasher. Its own published videos from the area confirm recognizable landmarks. However, these clips carefully avoid scenes that previously surfaced online, appearing to show fighters among corpses or executing survivors. So fresh satellite imagery from the Darfur city of El Fasher suggests that mass burials are taking place following the rapid support forces capture of the city. Images by Colorado-based imaging firm Vantor, revealing two major suspected grave sites, one near a mosque north of the Saudi hospital and another near a former children's hospital reportedly turned into an RSF prison. So that's kind of all I wanted from that article. I went looking, what's Vantor, right? Let me see where I got it here. So what's in a name? Goodbye Maxar, hello Vantor, and Lanteris. Both of the newly named companies are focused heavily on the national security market for space-related capabilities. More than 2 years after it was acquired and split into 2 units by private equity firm Advent International, Maxar Technologies is no more, with Maxar Intelligence renamed Vantor and Maxar Space Systems now called Lanteris Space Systems. Rebranding was announced today in 2 separate press releases from the newly named firms. Maxar Intelligence has been a key provider of remote sensing imagery and AI-driven data fusion products and services to the U.S. intelligence community, primarily the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and the National Reconnaissance Office. So yes, let's trust the satellite imagery put in front of us by the CIA, pretty much. Okay. I don't exactly have smoking gun proof there, but I think that's kind of enough circumstantial evidence for people to have a lot more critical thinking when the narrative of there's blood that can be seen from space or whatever, right? Whose satellite are you using? Just kind of a little small important detail, right? So let me see what else I kind of have on that. This one here. U.S. October 20th, 2024. U.S. and Israel use Black Sky and Maxar satellite imagery for Hamas war, not so much Planet Labs or SatRec. More fantastic reporting by Intelligence Online. Shortage of Israeli homegrown SAR and optical satellites has provided opportunities for Black Sky and Maxar. By the way, I looked up who founded this Maxar company. It was a Canadian and a Swiss guy. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be an Israeli. It's the West, right? They're in cahoots, right? It's not one, it's the other sort of thing, right? It's a recurring theme when you do the research. It's like, oh, it's an Israeli guy. Oh, it's a European guy. Oh, it's a American guy. Oh, it's a Canadian guy. Oh, they're always up to no good. So Israel's ImageSat owns and operates just one optical satellite in its Eros constellation, Eros C3. Israel needing more frequent imagery, fully booked tasking of Black Sky's constellation. Intelligence Online reports the DoD and Israeli military is reserving all tasking, and Black Sky satellite imaging in the region is unavailable to third parties. Same also for Maxar imagery. Intelligence Online contrasted Black Sky with Planet Labs. While Black Sky is commercially fully booked in Lebanon and Gaza, Planet Labs imagery remains available. No additional information was provided. Blah, 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 blah. The Planet Labs images will play only a minor role for U.S. and Israeli defense agencies. One explanation may lie in the fact that in 3-meter resolution Dove satellites comprising 90% of Planet's constellation of satellites. And basically, their defense agencies may desire higher resolution imagery, explaining why Planet's imagery remains unsold. Because if you want to, pretend a fake story about blood from space, you really need some high resolution images, right? So Planet Labs does not appear to be the only imagery company missing out on sales. We checked Aita Ashab, site of prior military engagements in Lebanon. Here, as of the date of this article, tasking remains available from Korean and Chinese satellites. Oh, they don't want to use Chinese satellites for this? That's interesting. I wonder why. Specifically, imagery from 2 SatTrek Initiative satellites and 2 Beijing 3 constellation satellites was available. Sadly for SatRec, their satellites, when passing over one of the currently most imaged regions of the world, appear to go untasked. Oh no. Interestingly, for SatTrek shareholders, Chinese satellites offer equal and better resolution than SatTrek in Lebanon at approximately 40% lower cost. High pricing may partially explain why SatTrek's imagery sale business growth is lagging. However, at least for military sales, Western governments likely make minimal to zero purchases from Chinese satellites. This all bodes well for Black Sky stockholders. Now multiple fronts appear opening in the war. Black Sky may benefit from increased revenue in the region. Oh, look at that. More blood, more money. Blood on whose hands? That's always, when they start to, there's a UN article I'm going to get to. Blood from the sky, blood on the hands or whatever, that kind of thing, whatever. And then they're blaming the entire international community for failing to be able to stop this thing, whatever. When who's the ones driving the thing? Hold them accountable. No? So who's reasonably responsible for allowing this fucking conflict to happen? The people at the UN, the people, these military contractors, okay? You can't act like your hands are tied. Like these people are just so much, their business activities are just so legal and necessary and acceptable, or that we can't do anything, okay? Because don't ask the rest of the average people to do something when every time we try to do it, you declare what we do illegal, and you declare what the fucking war criminal weapons manufacturers do is completely squeaky clean. So that's enough of that. Whatever. Pardon me. So let me get back to the other savvy video. I hope that little bit of random context was somewhat useful. Photo was taken from the orbiting Tesla. What's up, Lance? Good to see you. Here we go.
Musab, you don't want to get too much into this, but it does point back to the genocide that is happening in Sudan. If you could please, first and foremost, explain to us, how did all of this begin?
Final.
Pardon me, guys.
Thank you for having me on, Sabrina. This basically started decades ago. I mean, the Sudan government for a long time, if you go back to the 70s, it was, it was kind of into joining the U.S. policy in the region. So it was used kind of as a weapon against Libya, against Chad, against Ethiopia, all at the time who had pretty much, sovereign governments. They had their own internal problems. But essentially, Sudan was brought into that neoliberal fold. The government kind of did a U-turn in the 90s, and they, claimed sovereignty, and they didn't want to follow the U.S. policy anymore, but they went very extreme direction of supporting militant Islamist groups and, hosting bin Laden and all that kind of stuff. And that got them on the radar for regime change. In the late 90s, the late Dick Cheney and his friend, so it was on that list. They compromised with the U.S. and they let South Sudan separate to become its own country. So after that, then, the Arab Spring came along. Bashir got pretty shook by it, and he decided to go fully old of the Gulf Arab countries, kind of under the UAE and Saudi Arabia and Egypt. The main thing that brings these countries together is that these are the countries that are allies of the U.S. And they're the ones that have a good relationship with Israel. They might not, outright have a lot of diplomatic relationships with Israel and everything, but that changed in 2020 with the Abraham Accords. But the struggle inside of Sudan has always been the problem of a fascist government in Khartoum. In Khartoum, the capital, for the last 40 plus years, there's been a fascist government, far right extremists, claim sovereignty. They work with the bank and have austerity measures, privatizing large of the economy. They've been going along with that program. They joined it fully into that fold of the Gulf Arab countries. Then in 2019, a popular movement sparked and, removed Bashir. Once Bashir was out of the picture, the strong man who was kind of towing that line between the East and everything, then it became kind of an open playing field for a lot of intelligence, with U.S. intelligence, Israeli intelligence, the UAE, Turkey, because of the strategic location of Sudan and the amount of resources. Sudan geographically is a place that connects North Africa with the Horn of Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, and the Sahel region. If you look at Sudan and its geography, it connects all of these regions together. So historically, it was even like a super highway of civilizations and of movement and of trade and stuff like that. And that's why it's always been on the US's radar as far as a place that has to be put, quote unquote, under control. This pressure, like neo-colonial pressure, led to the powers inside of Sudan, specifically the army and the RSF, vying for power. And not just political power, but economic power as well. This is where she's like the UAE. Now, those of you, your audience who are old enough, probably remember in the 2000s, the Save Darfur movement, the genocide in Darfur. And people usually don't follow up to see, what happened to that campaign, like what happened to that genocide. The genociders won. The Janjaweed militia actually was legitimized and became the RSF that we know today. And the European Union funneled money to them so that they can protect the borders and quell migration. The UAE and Saudi Arabia recruited them so that they fight the Houthis, Ansar Allah in Yemen. So the RSF slowly became a country within a country. So they committed genocide in the 2000s. And then when Bashir was removed, they overthrew another civilian government. And then it became the question of, well, how can you have two armies in one country? You know, you can't have the official army SAF and you can't have the RSF side by side. There has to be a security structure, security sector reform. And that's where basically the old guard that were in SAF and the new guard that's in the RSF bumped heads because none of them want to give up power. None of them want to give up the resources, the vast gold mines, the livestock, you know, all of the political power that comes along with that. You know, the Red Sea, you know, so many different country ports. That's also a part of it. Food for the agricultural projects. But so all of these things kind of create.
Hey guys, Sean, Cowboy Kitty, how's it going? Antediluvian atheist. Okay, can't stay. That's all right. Thanks for popping in though. Hopefully see you again next time when you got more time to hang out. We're just waiting for Abby to show up a little bit and sharing you this critical interview that Savvy did here. Let me see if I can. I'm sure that in her. She's a bit better with stuff, putting stuff in the description, whatever. She probably, hopefully, got a interview with. No, maybe not. All right. Well, a little bit of advice for Abby or whatever. Please put the name of the person you interview, whatever, so that we can have an idea who our source is. Sorry. I just wish I knew this guy's name. Maybe she said it earlier. I just started the clip halfway through a little bit, so sorry for sharing you information without properly giving you the name of the source. But sometimes sources' names should be protected, whatever. But anyway, yeah, we're just I'll have more investigations to get into, articles to read and whatnot. Just trying to give Abby a bit of a chance to join us. She's just dealing with her mother as usual, kind of. You guys, if you know, you know. So
Created the perfect storm. But it's still, I mean, you see in 2023 and 2024, Netanyahu brought out to the UN General Assembly had the new Middle East. And it basically included the Gulf countries, Egypt, and Sudan. You know, so, you know, there was some criticisms in the beginning of the war. You know, people were like, you know, don't make everything about Israel. Well, you know, Sudan got pushed into this new Middle East map. And apparently all of the policies that were pushed on it were in lockstep with U.S. and Israel policy. And this just basically broke the country because they propped up these criminal entities like the RSF and Bashir's party, the NCP, within, you know, controlling SAF. You know, one of the goals of this war is to kill any kind of sovereign citizen movement to move towards democracy and let go of these you know, monopolies, these military monopolies on the Sudanese economy. There are other issues as well. You know, the Bashir regime for 40 years has been pushing an Islamo-Arab centric policy and trying to make Sudan into one homogeneous, you know, identity of being Arabs and being Muslim. And this also made non-Arabs within Sudan, indigenous groups, feel like they're second-class citizens. That's what led to the separation of South Sudan and Darfur and the New Mountains. So we had a lot of problems that were never solved, and everything was just pushed under the rug. And this is what led right now. But the genocide that's going on right now in Al-Fashir is kind of a continuation of a long, you know, record of this central government basically trying to quell its citizens and coerce them.
So once again, Israel is involved. Skylar brings up a good point here. So they want Sudan as part of the new Middle East because Sudan has all the gold and farmland.
That's part of it, yes. But more importantly, so that Sudan doesn't become part of a resistant axis to U.S. and Israel policy. You know, Sudan is a country of 40 million people. It's between it and Israel, there's only one country geographically, and that's Egypt. So the proximity, also the geographic proximity, makes it so where that they want to make Sudan kind of is kept in check. And of course, part of it is also they don't want Sudan to be a solid ally with Russia or China or any one of the other competing countries with the West. So, yeah, I mean, there's a couple of reasons. The resources.
I have a critique to kind of lodge there. I'm sorry. Many people will maybe have a bit of a problem with a person like me who has no credentials or barely understands the topic kind of thing, but just trying to understand the larger geopolitical trade war thing with the US and China and the BRICS stuff. Russia is very much involved with the UAE here and the training of the RSF forces and stuff, unless those allegations are not credible. I see Abby's here in the background. What's up, Abby? So as much as the claim is that they really want to stop them from allying with Russia and China, they want to make sure that nobody can really get that bipolar support rather than multipolar. Because when we talk about polarity, the goal for that should be for places like Sudan and Palestine to stand on their own. But what it seems like, it's more of the same. The BRICS countries want they want a region of Africa for low-cost manufacturing so that they can compete with the West. That doesn't spell to me that they want to make Sudan their ally. It means that they want them to be their slave countries. Go ahead. How's it going, Abby?
It's going. Hello, everybody. It's going. I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No, it's all good. I'm just happy to have you join us. Maybe I should change the layout over here. So yeah, we've just been playing the Sabby video, kind of give you time to join.
I haven't seen this video actually.
And I figured maybe lots of our viewers in our chat have seen it. My apologies for a rewatch, but for those of you who haven't, this is one of the I don't always find everything that Sabby does something that I'm interested in watching, but this is definitely something that I was glad that I caught. So
okay, well, let's watch it.
All right.
This part of it. And part of it is kind of geostrategic as well.
10 minutes, maybe 50 more minutes. So
we cannot stress this enough that once again, we have another conflict that Israel is a part of. I want to get your opinion about this, Masab. I have seen videos of people fleeing Sudan. When people are fleeing Sudan right now, those who are able to get out, where are they going?
So that's one of the biggest, the big tragedy right now is the magnitude of the war itself. Try to think about this. 12 million people displaced. 12 million people being displaced. Basically, the Sudanese, they went all different. There's 1.5 million that went to Egypt. There's another 1.5 million that went to Chad. 1.2 million went to South Sudan. I know family members people who went to Saudi Arabia. Some people went to Kenya. So really, when you look at the migration map as a result of this war, the Sudanese citizens had to disperse in all directions just to get away from all of the carnage.
So Egypt is taking in a lot of people then.
Absolutely.
Because my friend Nico House, he went to Egypt about a year ago, and he said he was surprised to see how many refugees were in Egypt. There were even Syrian refugees in Egypt. He had mentioned that.
What's that?
I said I thought that was interesting because they wouldn't take. I said I thought that was interesting because they weren't trying to take Palestinians. Remember that?
Yeah, so I guess the Egyptians are willing to take the Sudanese, but not the. Yeah, that is a bit of a glaring.
And which Sudanese are we talking about? Because Northern
continuity.
Sudan is Arab and Southern Sudan is African Christians. So which
That's something
Sudanese are they
that's
talking about?
certainly part of it. This is their. I think he might have already mentioned it. He might talk about it later on in the video. But there's a problem of Arab supremacy going on in this conflict here. That's maybe one of the reasons why it's awkward for people to talk about. It seems like people
yeah, I'm pretty
are
sure
all
they're taking
gung
in
ho to talk about the
Arab.
Gaza genocide. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure they're taking in Arab Sudanese people. Like, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing that that's what they're taking. The people that are fleeing because they don't want to die in this conflict, so they're taking them in so they can return after everything is done and said for. Just like Cyprus took in the Israelis. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, just
I'm not in a good space, so
it's okay.
You already know, Michael.
That's all good. So what I was like, my thoughts on that kind of Arab supremacist dynamic there is, from what I've gathered, it seems like both the RSF and the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces, they're the two sides fighting, and they both seem to have problems with this Arab supremacy, like genocide that's inspired from their Arab supremacy against the indigenous Black population. So when we're talking about nation states and the right of a nation, like why we need to support national liberation struggles and these kinds of things, this is a kind of controversial, like dirty, like bloody hands to, like, you get your blood on your own hands if you sign off on these Arab militias massacring the indigenous Black population in the name of the nation. It's like, whose nation, right? Shouldn't the indigenous of the country be the ones that are the ones defining what the nature of the country is, not so much the ones who came after? You know, that's like the problem about settler colonialism a little bit. So there's this whole kind of getting in the weeds of the conversations about the nature of settler colonialism in context other than white settlers. It's like, ooh, that's a third rail conversation, I'm guessing. So, but Egypt itself, and when you look at the history of Sudan, has always felt the need to dominate the Sudan down the river for its own, whatever, national security, strategic interest, kind of imperialist logic. Okay, so Egypt has been meddling in Sudan's affairs for centuries, and Britain. That's the other important thing to have the long-term colonial context in, like, from 1855, I think, to like 1900s or something. There was this Sudan, Egypt. They called it a condominium. They called Sudan a condominium run by Britain and Egypt, but basically Britain through Egypt as a vassal state, right? So Egypt was serving Britain's interests for a long time and has kind of maintained, like when we see with the Ethiopian dam project, it's using Britain's colonial, like, legal legacy of what they've defined as the borders and whatnot, using colonial logic, like legal language, whatever. Like Egypt using that kind of thing to protect its interests in the region. So as much as it's not technically under Britain's control, wherever, they're still kind of using, I don't know, they're kind of blurring the lines there, still making me feel like, oh, you might be your own independent nation, but if you're just serving British interests, like the idea of a nation is kind of a distraction from understanding the actual power dynamics at play sometimes. So,
and I'm glad that you're saying this, because the people of Egypt right now are trying to claim that they were the Egyptians from the past, and it's like, no, the fuck you weren't. I shouldn't cuss.
That's one of the things I
I'm
think that gives
already
Egypt
upset.
a little extra credibility, because it's like the most ancient nation in Africa, and all the rest of them are new creations, kind of thing.
No, but they are trying to these new people of Egypt who are these light-skinned Arabs. It's just colonialism all over again. Just they ain't white, they light-skinned brown, but you're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
And hi, old man Barker, I saw you comment. Like,
Yeah. How's it going? Rondo,
and
Freemason.
Sean, everybody, hi.
I did not look into the Freemasons angle for tonight, but that is definitely something worth doing, because they're always behind everything. Well, they got their fingers in every pie,
I've
too.
been looking into it. I've been looking into it, and it is atrocious. Maybe
Yeah.
Rondo, you can come on and talk about us. Talk with us about it. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to Sudan.
Right. Yeah.
Do you want to go back to? Because I pulled it down. So you want me to pull it back up?
Yeah.
And you want to
I see
continue?
you got something that you wanted to share too. We want to wrap this up first, or?
It's fine. Wrap it up. I mean, I wasn't here, so
Okay.
I don't, and I didn't see you, so I don't know what she said.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen
And
it,
hi,
might as well
Macy.
share it with you and get your thoughts, and at least on the latter half, because you missed the first part, but you can catch it on the rewind. So
yeah,
here we go.
So it just seems like Egypt is taking in a lot of people. So this is really interesting. Thank you so much for this. The Oracle says, which group represents the indigenous Sudanese people?
I mean, they're all pretty much indigenous. But when we talk about non-indigenous, we don't want to make it seem as if these people are not Sudanese. They're Sudanese, but there are nomadic groups in Sudan. The nomadic groups go cross-border. So they would be in Sudan. They would go out, a lot of them are from Chad, Niger. But the agricultural communities, the indigenous communities, like in Darfur and in the Nuba Mountains, in the far north of Sudan and the eastern part of Sudan, there's a lot of indigenous groups. The complication comes in when, the Bashir regime set up this kind of pro-Arabized Sudanese agenda, where the non-Arab indigenous groups are the ones that get the brunt of the war. They suffer the most. Since the days of South Sudan, you have people in Darfur, in the Nuba Mountains, in Blue State, the southern
and we have to be honest
western,
about why.
and southern, southeastern parts of historically had the worst experience when it comes to the state violence and the genocide that's been perpetrated on them.
So how can this particular issue, is there a way to solve this genocide in Sudan? And why aren't more, and this is a question I've had for a long time, why aren't other nations back against in Sudan?
Okay. There's kind of two tracks that are going. The U.S. is hosting, talks between the Egypt, the Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, and they're talking strictly to the army and the RSF. And there's some breakthrough. They're talking now about what conditions for the ceasefire, for like a pause and then a ceasefire. Going along slowly. The other track is with the African Union, bringing together all of the political actors in Sudan to have a comprehensive dialogue. So that was supposed to kick off like a few months ago. It got delayed, but most likely, if there's a breakthrough with this ceasefire, then there would be that bigger dialogue where basically there has to be some framework of transitional justice, just like a lot of.
What's that?
Oh, it's like skipping a
Want to
lot.
say something?
It's skipping a lot. That's all.
Yeah, it seems like it's given to me. I don't see anyone making too many complaints in the comments, but if you guys are, if the video is a little too unwatchable, please let us know.
Yep.
I
Let
just
us
think
know.
the first comments
we'll-
as far as what, yeah, I could try sharing the link with you, but then we'd have to take the time to get started. I just maybe you could share the next link or whatever. But as
Okay,
far as
send it
my
to me
commentary on what he's
in the
saying,
private chat. Send it to me in the private chat, and then we'll
yeah, all right,
and the time I need to start.
right.
Let's
In the
do that.
meantime,
In the meantime,
yeah, sure.
I could play
But
something.
in the meantime, what I was saying, my comments before I lose him, my thoughts on what he was just saying about that is the peace process.
Mhm.
In short, what he's saying, the peace process that's only considered legitimate is one that the dialogue is controlled by the oligarchs' mouthpieces, basically. Like the African Union, I need to do more research on it, but it's starting to smell like the African version of the EU, whatever. Like pretty much not the organization you think it is. If you're wanting to see unity in Africa, like in a big way, I'm not sure if the African Union's been able to provide that in any way. Been a big disappointment and failure, possibly. So, and besides that, he was mentioning they're only talking to the RSF and the SAF. Those are both the regimes are puppets being propped by all these bad actors in the region that are benefiting from the continued conflict rather than trying to solve it. That's what he's trying to answer, right? The thing about he's trying to say why she asked him why aren't the neighboring countries doing more to put a stop to it. In short, because there's too much profit in blood and destabilization rather than prosperity of your fellow neighbor, kind of thing. So as far as where we need to, there's the link in the private chat. So that's where we need.
Yeah, I got it.
Jump
I got
to
it. You just have to tell me where to jump to.
Yeah, jump to 1933.
So you want to do that first before?
Yeah, there's
it's going
about
to take
10
me
more
a
minutes
second
left
to pull
if you
that
want
up. It's going to take me a second to pull it up. So let me just play this. And
okay, sure. We're in a bit of a break.
Well, before I say that, I just want to point out, like, you and I had Sudan on the radar for a while, but it was so much shit going on.
We got some things piling up on the back burner. Yeah.
Right. And when you text me and you were like, what do you want to talk about? I said, Sudan. And you were like, I was just thinking that. And it's still so much shit in the back burner. Like, it's too much stuff going on, man. Yeah. It's too crazy. But okay, I'm gonna play this.
Although I'd say there's been been something like a media push about this that seems like everyone is talking about it because there was some kind of CIA media push to get it into people's screens, like for whatever reason. I think because they lost the Darfur. If we're looking at why are we talking about this all of a sudden? Because it's been going on for a while. Or whatever. What changed was they're calling it a genocide in El Fasher, but what happened is El Fasher the city was taken over by the RSF, and it was the last major city in Darfur that had been held by Sudanese state forces. And so now there's some anxiety that there's been a fundamental shift in the conflict because now the RSF has like access to trans-Sahel trade routes and stuff, like unmolested, uninterrupted kind of thing, which will then kind of tip the gradual balance where they'll be able to get more access to arms and that kind of thing unless
the United States is all
the conflict going forever. So who knows, right?
The United States is all involved in this. Like I have a video where they're showing weapons from the United Arab immigrants. We'll get to that. So let me just
Well, the U.S. wanted the government. I think the Sudanese armed forces, wherever they were trying to like normalize ties with Israel as condition for being taken off the terrorism list. So, and that's what they did. They signed the Abraham Accords, and then they, you know, they normalized ties. They sent forces to help Saudi Arabia in fight in Yemen and stuff. And then, because I think Russia and China have their own geopolitical interests, there seems to be reason. I'm not sure if it's entirely so simplistic as to say that the UAE is helping Russia and China interfere with American and Israeli interests. I feel like, as much as they all feel like they're trying to get one up on each other, they happen to be supporting each other's interests. The US and Russia and China and stuff, as much as they're opposed to each other on the broader scale, in a place like Sudan, they all seem to be benefiting from this kind of chaos, or they're fighting greedily over what they can get out of this kind of thing. So whatever, you can't make, as much as it's a proxy war kind of thing, if there's a solution to this conflict, we can't necessarily make it about backing Russia and China instead of the US, because that's going to solve all the problems for the Sudanese people. I feel like they're complicit at this point for us to have any kind of faith that they will resolve this conflict any more peacefully than the Americans have. You know, but I don't know, maybe that's my cynical, naive take. So,
And just so you know, in about 15 minutes or so, I might have to leave for a second to check on my mom, okay?
all right. Let's
But
see
here
what
we
you got
go.
here.
Oh, it's no volume. How is that possible? Oh, it's up here.
Gold,
I'll wait
Africa's
for
third.
that.
Did you know why the UAE is obsessed with Sudan? It's not charity, it's conquest. Sudan's gold, Africa's third largest, disappears into UAE vaults. Over 80% smuggled or sold in Dubai, funding militias and fueling war. Food insecure UAE leases Sudan's fertile soil. Farmers displaced, harvests exported. Sudan starves while Dubai feasts. A $6 billion port deal and Yemeni island bases seal the Red Sea. One choke point moves 12% of global trade, and the UAE holds the switch. Abu Dhabi backs the RSF. Riyadh backs the army. Sudan's war is their chessboard. Civilians, the pawns. Gold, land, sea, power. Sudan isn't a partner, it's prey. Did you know why the UAE is obsessed with Sudan?
So,
yeah.
yes, that is Traore down there, but I think they're trying to show you, like, I'm not exactly sure why they're doing that, because I think next to him is I don't see who that is. I can't see because they
I'm
have
not sure
that
who
follow
any
me
of the
more.
other, yeah. Not sure who the other people are in the thumbnails down there. Some of these sources are not necessarily on our side. You can put it that way. You have to look a little deeper into
I mean,
who they are.
well, they also, if you look at it, okay, let's look at it. So they're also showing you, wait, can I share it? Okay, Gaddafi.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Gaddafi ain't about this shit either. So I think they're showing you contrast of the people who you should be for, because the ones who aren't smiling are the ones you should be for, and the ones who are skinning and fucking grinning are the ones who are thieving and stealing resources.
We'd have to know who the other people
I mean,
are, though.
that's
But I'm just what they. You're right. What they might be
well,
doing is
I know
trying to
those
do like
two
a
people.
slight, like a guilt of association by putting the socialist heroes next to other controversial characters. But there's no point in even getting into that analysis.
Yeah, I know
unless we
that. Yeah,
all these
but I
people
know
are.
that
But
Prince.
we're just distracted because Jacqueline's bringing it up a little
Whatever.
bit. So,
Whatever.
but yeah, what the context of that video is about, like, oh, open secret is that they all want Sudan's gold and agriculture and stuff like this. And part of the thing about they want their copper too. It's not just about gold, right? There's all this talk about the rare earth minerals and stuff, but I had an article here. Let me see. Sudan has world's largest copper reserve from the Middle East Monitor. So that's from
Sudan
2017.
also has like the third largest gold reserve.
Yeah.
Just
So
saying.
when we're talking
Why
about
are
the
you
whole
pulling that
BRICS
up? I
versus
was
the
gonna
US,
play
you want me to
this.
call that up? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, you
But
can. And then I'm just gonna play this up.
sure.
Oh
So
shoot,
when
y'all
the whole
can't see it.
thing,
I'm sorry.
yeah, but this whole our technological drive to outpace the US, that's the whole secret to the success of communism kind of thing. Well, that's like a very colonial kind of attitude, I feel like. There's a whole lot of problems, at least ethically, whatever. A lot of people are dismissive about the importance of ethics, right? And it kind of seems like in order to make their stance on what's important politically and economically for us to be doing is to step on third world country nations in order to elevate, the superpowers in a very imperialistic kind of mindset about that's how you get your multipolarity. It's like, I don't think your position makes as much logical sense as you believe it does, So Sudanese government firm announced yesterday that it owns the largest copper reserve in the world, the Anadolu agency reported in 2017. And then in 2019, there's a whole popular uprising, a protest that the U.S. legitimizes as reason for, signs of improvement and advances towards a democracy, right? But in protests within its own borders, illegitimate, whatever, no, illegal, whatever. All you Palestine protesters, whatever, definitely not democratic whatsoever, blah, blah, blah. So anyway,
Love you, Michael.
I love you too. The director of Aryab Mining Company, Nasser Adin Al Hussein, said Al Katoub mine in the east of Sudan contains the largest copper reserve in the world, noting it contains about 5 million tons of the metal. In a statement issued by the Sudanese Ministry of Minerals, Al Hussein also said that the same mine includes 140 tons of gold, 700,000 tons of zinc, and 3,000 tons of silver. Al Hussein estimated the value of the mineral reserves in Al Katoub mine to be 17 million. And it's a mine in Africa that's got an Arab name. That's just a little bit kind of very indigenous sounding. But he revealed that talks with 4 international banks and sovereign funds to finance production projects in Al Katoub are underway. The talks, Al Hussein said, would finish at the start of next year, with production expected to begin 14 to 18 months after the talks are completed. And then there was a revolution, and then a genocidal civil war that we have not seen the end of yet. So Sudan has previously announced possession of large quantities of more than 30 minerals. And then I had another source. Let me see. Where is it? So there is a South Sudan, and then there's Sudan. And then on the border between the two, there's the copper mine at Hofret and Nahas, whatever. So copper is the world's third most important metal after iron and aluminum, but a lot of focus right now on the rare earth minerals because you need those for the tech to work. But you know what? The rare earth minerals by themselves aren't enough to make the tech work. A lot of the times you need stuff like copper to make it work too, right? So that's kind of the unsung hero, whatever, for the minerals in the great big tech revolution. So it has been used for thousands of
That's a great big tech revolution.
Sorry, what's that?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So where was I? It has been used for thousands of years, continues to be an important item in manufacturing, medicine, construction, the electrical industries. The world has enormous reserves of copper ore. It is found in many African countries. Sudan has considerable resources in the Red Sea area and in the southwest of the country, but almost none of those has been used to extract copper metal. The Hofret and Nahas mine in southwest Sudan or northwest South Sudan, depending on how local geography is interpreted. They're both Sudan, South Sudan, I think, should just be part of Sudan, but for some reason, this specific location was part of where the border needed to be drawn. has been exploited by artisanal methods for hundreds of years and is important in local culture and to a lesser extent in current times in the local economy. The mine was visited by European explorers from the mid-19th century through the mid-20th century by potential entrepreneurs with the view to exploit the mineral. So they'd known about this wealth in this specific area forever, but they're just like, oh, it's so hard to get to. We just can't, actually, how do we get to it without actually taking care of any of the people in the region? Just how do we do that? And it took them 200 years or whatever, but maybe they're getting to it. So where was I here? Various analyses have shown that the ore can produce high-quality pure metal. Among the many reasons for the mine not being developed are the remoteness of the location, poor and only seasonal access by road, a distance to the railway of more than 200 miles, lack of a local labor force, and difficulties about feeding such a force. In recent years, the failure to secure an agreement on the international boundary between the Republic of Sudan and the Republic of South Sudan inhibits any progress towards development of the mine. It's almost like they're fighting over the resources or something. It's like it's got cultural reasons. It's basically most of the time.
It can't be.
This diachronic study of more than 170 years of events and activities at Hofret and Nahaz, covering actual artisanal copper extraction, geographical and geophysical exploration, cultural setting, the causes of and problems with civil war in the area, as far as can be ascertained. The paper is the only synthetic review of these subjects and could form the basis of future studies. So, not that we're going to read all this, but maybe I will. People who got a lot of time on their hands. Anyway, that was that. My bad. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to play something, and then I'm looking at the time. I'm going to have to leave in a second. But I'll play something.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Here we go.
This is the UAE, Dubai, a city I'm sure one of you or some of you have thought of visiting one day, because that's what we see in social media. They glorify this luxurious lifestyle, fast cars, big buildings, etc. And of course, the gold. They seem to have an extraordinary amount of gold in Dubai. But this is what is so interesting. Dubai, the city of gold, is actually located in a country that is comprised of 80% desert. United Arab Emirates, 80% of its geography is desert. And that means that most of its land, almost all of it, there is no way to find any gold in it. And that is the case for the United Arab Emirates. They don't have any gold of their own. So you might be wondering, why is it that there's so much gold when I scroll on Dubai TikTok? Well, that is because they import gold from other places. Import is the nice way to explain it, but a lot of it is being smuggled illegally via illegal channels into Dubai, the city of gold, so that people can wear it on their necklaces, people can wear it on their clothes, etc., and show off the gold that has been smuggled from somewhere else. Now, when you're able to smuggle that amount of gold so easily into your country, that means the place that you're smuggling from is not able to resist or fight back against that smuggling of their gold. Now, that country that cannot resist and is being sucked out of their life or resources is Sudan. Sudan is a country located in Northeast Africa and is right now going through the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. And people are hardly ever talking about it. Despite that, the gold that is being smuggled from Sudan, the statistics for that has skyrocketed since the war. So it hasn't slowed down because of the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet right now. In fact, it has gone up dramatically. And the UAE's imports of gold, they have skyrocketed alongside with it. Now, this isn't just the only thing. Remember when I said the United Arab Emirates is comprised of 80% desert? Well, you might be wondering, there are so many people that live in the United Arab Emirates. How is it that they are able to get food to their people? Well, that is a really good question, because only 1% only 1% of the United Arab Emirates land is fertile that you can farm and get food from. Meanwhile, Sudan is the most fertile land in Africa, and for some reason in the Arab world is called the breadbasket of the Arab world. Despite it being located in Africa, that is what they call it. And the United Arab Emirates has a lot of land that they own and control in Sudan. And the amount of land that they are controlling and the amount of agriculture that they are managing to smuggle to Sudan has skyrocketed as well. So this is the timeline. The worse the genocide gets, the more the United Arab Emirates profits through gold and agriculture. The two things that they don't have naturally in their geography or their land. And they are getting away with it. They're getting away with it, and this is how they're doing it. Through a paramilitary group called the RSF, Rapid Support Force, a group that is trying to ethnically cleanse non-Arab Sudanese people in Sudan. And they are getting weapons, drones, missiles, tanks that they can use against Sudan or Sudanese people. This is what they are doing to thousands of Sudanese people as we speak right now. They are rounding them up and massacring thousands of Sudanese people. This started because the Sudanese people were tired of the dictator they had in 2019, and they protested against him because there was no jobs, there was nothing that they could benefit from, especially if you were non-Arab in Sudan. And that was what they were protesting. And the paramilitary group, the RSF.
Can I just say, he looks like a northern Sudanese person. He looks like an Arab from Sudanese. And I can say that from experience. Because I lived in Minnesota, so Sudanese people, go to Minnesota. So I know the difference between what a northern Sudanese person looks like and a southern Sudanese. He's definitely northern Sudanese. So see, he's trying to tell on his own people. But anyway.
So what I see, he looks a little
that was a part
Indian.
Sorry.
There's some Indians been in Africa for a long time too, kind of thing. He might have a little, his facial features look a little Indian to me. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But anyway. Not that has nothing to do with anything. That's just random observance. But yeah.
Yeah.
The military at the time had close ties with the United Arab Emirates. Seeing that their control of the Sudan would lose, or they would lose their control of Sudan, they acted promptly and started to give arms, weapons, and support to the RSF that staged a war against the Sudanese army, against the Sudanese people, which is causing this massacre right now. So the whole point of this massacre is to keep Sudan the breadbasket of the Arab world. It is to keep Sudan in the pocket of specifically the United Arab Emirates.
So is this anything different from anything we already know?
That's the thing that's
it's just fucking rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to some novel reporting on this. It's a little bit difficult because there is for a lot of people who don't know anything about the conflict, a lot of this stuff is important, useful information. But what I'm saying, like, you're pointing the finger at the UAE and stuff. It's like, that's like a monarchy, right? That's not that you're kind of validating the place as a nation, but the nation is conflated with the monarchy. Without the monarchy, that's not a nation. You know, like what kind of there's no democracy in the UAE, right? And then, but I'm always, my thoughts are going
where
with
you're
this.
going with that.
My point is that they're like an illegitimate institution that is like a middleman, and so the gold goes to UAE, right? And that makes them powerful. But then where does it go, right? Like, there's a lot going on with the gold markets right now. There's like England typically they were the ones that made the gold standard because that's how they maintain their British Empire. So they've historically had the ones with the dominance over the global gold market. And so when we're talking about the UAE, they're the ones, well, this is probably where I should find the. I'll share this article here. The UAE
Okay,
has
but
been
so
propped up by
if you're about to
by
share
the
an
British,
article,
right? So
wait,
if you're
hold
gonna,
on.
if
If
you got
you're about
somewhere
to
to get,
share,
yeah, I can
I
get
gotta
into
go
the
check on my
article if you
mom.
got to go. Yeah, you go ahead, and then I'll get into this
I'll be
article
back.
because I'm pointing the finger at the
Okay.
British. When they point the finger at the UAE, I say, well, you're talking about the British, okay? But you might not realize. So because those monarchies in the Middle East would not be there without the
Changes because
British
you might not.
to this day.
What?
So
There we go.
there we go here. Because everyone knows to point the finger at the U.S. for this, right? U.S. and Israel. But it's important to understand how much they all work together. Is this going to come up for me? It's a bit lagging here. They need each other to wash each other's hands. So there we go.
There you go. Okay. All right. Now I'm out. I'll be back.
Okay. So Keir Starmer's 120 million pound to Sudan cannot cover the government's complicity in the RSF genocide or atone for the long shadow, British colonialism and imperialism. So the Starmer government's announcement last week of this April 25th, 2025. So it's a bit of an old article, but it's still from this year and very relevant as far as holding the Starmer government's actions accountable. He's still in power, right? So the Starmer government's announcement last week of an additional 120 million pound in aid to Sudan was grossly inadequate and grossly hypocritical to cover Britain's ongoing guilt in Gaza going back more than 125 years and extending to the present genocide by paramilitary rapid support forces, rebels, and Sudanese armed forces in Sudan. Since April 2023 alone, over 12 million people have been uprooted. Half the country is acutely hungry and famine stalks the land. In Darfur and Khartoum and every shattered village, people are eating animal feed to survive. Some drink hot water to silence the pain in their stomachs. Hundreds die every day, unseen and unheard. Announcing the new aid package, Foreign Secretary David Lammy attacked global governments for looking away from the brutal war in Sudan. 2 years is far too long. The brutal war in Sudan has devastated the lives of millions, and yet much of the world continues to look away. Yet the Starmer government continues to seek closer ties with the United Arab Emirates, which are the main funders and armors of the RSF, and with Saudi Arabia, which backs the Sudanese armed forces. British imperialism and exploitation in Sudan dates back to the mid-1800s and intensified into 56 years of colonial rule under the so-called Anglo-Egyptian Condominium from 1899 to 1955, which, as has happened so often, led to civil war and the deaths of hundreds of thousands after the dissolution of the AEC, as tensions created by British imposition of arbitrary borders drove a legacy of exploitation and conflict that left Sudan impoverished and war-torn. So reparations, you know what I mean? Like only kind of solution in a way. If Britain were a country, it would have to be arrested and given the death sentence. So, but imperialism and exploitation by Britain and other outside powers did not end with the cessation of formal colonial rule. As New Internationalist writer Tom Liebert has pointed out, British foreign policy has driven the exploitative extractionism that has fueled war, slavery, and impoverishment across Africa, including Sudan, by protecting and promoting the companies that perpetrate it. Instead of reining in companies that exploit African resources, the British government has actively championed them through trade, investment, and tax policies. So that's where I'm saying, if I share with you the UN article, it says, blood on the sand, blood on the hands. The UN decries world's failure as Sudan's El Fasher falls. Fuck you, UN. Okay? Stop letting governments that make up the UN, that make you guys look legitimate, actively champion these companies that are doing all the exploitation. Whatever, do something if you want to say that we're not doing something. Whatever, you're supposed to be the representatives of the people. So the interference of outside interests in Sudan has led to more than 40 years of repeated genocides. As Genocide Watch put it, genocide became Sudanese state policy when the Arab supremacist Arab Gathering seized power in Khartoum in 1983. The Arab Gathering aimed to drive Black African ethnic groups out of all fertile agricultural land and oil and gold-producing regions of Sudan. Determined to dominate all of Sudan, the Sudanese army and Arab militias have massacred hundreds of thousands of non-Arab people in the Nuba Mountains, Darfur, the Blue Nile, South Kordofan, Abyei, and South Sudan. So this little bit about the Arab supremacist thing, it's a little thing about denial of the imperialist nature of the Muslim expansion centuries ago and the consequences. Just like we criticize Britain's imperialism and the consequences it has to this day, there are even longer centuries-old consequences we are still living out from the Arab conquest of North Africa. That was not a healthy thing for the people of the land there. Back in, like, they destroyed their sovereignty, their cultures, their communities, and they imposed Islam on them in the name of Allah. And then nowadays we don't really talk about how wrong that is, because it's hard, especially as a Westerner. If we talk about that kind of stuff, we sound like these like right-winger Islamophobia people who are trying to say like Arabs, Muslims can't immigrate here because they're going to be all a bunch of terrorist extremists and stuff, whatever. It's like, it's complicated in the fact that there are no good sides in these kinds of things, unfortunately, as much as people are trying to glorify that with the propaganda of all sides have on these things, whatever. Like, Muslims have it in their best interest to portray themselves as angelic and innocent, and they've never done anything wrong, right? So do the Christians, so do the Jews. But I'm not any of those groups of people, and I have no real interest in making excuses for like Muslims can be genocidal too, right? Arabs can be genocidal too. It's not controversial really unless you make it out to be. Same thing with Asians. Like, we're all capable of this fucking evil. The problem is, if we have to, what is evil? Is it human nature, or is it some kind of divine influence on us? We can't really get to the root of those things, because a lot of these groups of people will they say they have the right to kill you if you say that their actions are evil, and that evil is not anything to do with God. So, or whatever, that supernatural nonsense. So it's a bit of a problem. Like, if you're going to be atheistic to even defend the concept of evil at all, it's tempting to kind of dismiss, like, no, evil has to do with religion, so then there's no such thing as evil. And then you get into a really questionable moral place where what you would call evil, you just say is selfish or greedy or stupid or whatever, manipulative, whatever, psychopathic, whatever. But to me, evil is a viable word for what is happening. It's a loaded language. So let me get back to my little article here, kind of getting on a tangent. So the war between Sudanese armed forces and the RSF has seen many more tens of thousands slaughtered, many in acts of cold-blooded mass execution accompanied by rapes, torture, and mutilation, and around 11 million forcibly displaced. The British government's political complicity extends to this latest genocide. Keir Starmer has made and defended high-profile visits to both the UAE and Saudi Arabia in search of trade deals, despite their well-known issues with human rights. Saudi Arabia's involvement, with the aid of, among others, Sudanese forces, in the killing of more than 300,000 civilians in Yemen, and the support of both countries for the warring factions in Sudan. In 2022, Starmer attacked Boris Johnson for going cap in hand from dictator to dictator after he visited Saudi Arabia, defending his own visit as PM. Starmer, of course, the massive hypocrite that he is, made clear that he was prioritizing the economy above such trivialities as stopping genocide or promoting human rights. Economic growth in Britain is my number one mission, Starmer made similar arguments to justify his visit to the UAE, adding a claim that he had raised human rights. So these countries legitimize each other when they're all, somehow we shame ourselves into allowing them to make these atrocious decisions in our name. That the value of maintaining our citizenship with these so-called countries is more important than showing the world that none of these people that established even places like Canada or whatever, all this colonial nonsense is illegal, whatever. And that citizenship that we claim as rightfully ours is based on genocide, whatever, which invalidates it. But we have material, personal reasons why we can't say no. So what you gonna do? The UAE's alleged role in the RSF's actions is common knowledge and has been called part of a pattern of the UAE working with paramilitaries in countries across Africa to control access to their resources. Just last week, the International Court of Justice heard Sudan's case against the UAE for complicity in the RSF's genocide in Sudan. Sudan's justice minister told the ICJ that the ongoing genocide would not be possible without the complicity of the UAE, including the shipment of arms to the RSF. This is where we got some sensationalist claims. Genocide Watch again. Women and girls as young as 1 year old have repeatedly been targeted for rape and sexual slavery by the RSF, often ethnically motivated. What I have a problem with this sentence is when you say that they've been targeted for rape and sexual slavery, and you're talking, you bring up someone as young as 1 year old, now you've made the unclear accusation of whether the 1 year old's been targeted for rape or sexual slavery, because it seems more logical that a 1 year old would be captured with the intent to eventually keep them in sexual slavery, but not necessarily for rape. But when you phrase it this way specifically, you've made it extra sensationalist so as to leave it up to the reader to determine what's being said here. So as much as I would love to just assume that all of these charity organizations are credible, we have to start to be very, what should we say, with be very diligent and suspicious of everyone. That's kind of one of the things that's preventing us from resolving these conflicts, is we keep trusting these NGOs as if they are just like innocent humanitarian, like good loving people, when that's often like a inroad into the conflict for CIA kind of stuff. And it's just really difficult to understand what's really happening in these things. I wanted to check in on you guys here in the chat, making sure that you could still hear me, because occasionally I will nudge the power cord, plug it into my mic, and it will stop working, and I might not notice. So, all right, you guys are looking good. Cool. Sorry we're not as engaged with the chat. It's just one of those streams, you know how it is. Where am I here? Okay. Not sure I need to read this entire article. I might need to find a spot to jump off in, or try and skip some paragraphs here. So, yeah, the women and girls as young as 1 year old, repeatedly targeted for rape, sexual slavery. RSF destroyed 145 health facilities, depriving 65% of the Darfuri population of basic health care. Sounds very Israeli kind of motive, like training kind of at work. It continues to use famine as a weapon of war by blocking humanitarian assistance from reaching camps for internally displaced people, such as the starvation-stricken Zamzam camp. None of this has made any difference to Britain's pursuit of closer ties with either the UAE or Saudi Arabia, leading human rights groups to accuse Starmer of genocide denial for his refusal. He's not just a genocide denialist, he's a genocide perpetrator, from the comfort of Britain, which is the way they've always done it. So they have everyone else do the killing for them and then say, I didn't do anything. Look at me. I've literally just been sitting here the whole time. Fuck off. So just as he has done with Israel's campaign of starvation, forced displacement, and extermination in Gaza, Starmer has refused to call the RSF and SAF's mass killings a genocide. I appreciate that. That's one of the things that suggests that this might be a little bit more of a trustworthy NGO, if you want to call it that, is that they're calling out both sides for mass killings for genocide. They're not just trying to make one side look good for political reasons. So these refusals are unsurprisingly deeply hypocritical. In 2014, as a barrister, Starmer argued that Serbia had committed genocide in Croatia because of its sustained campaign of shelling, systematic expulsion, denial of food, water, electricity, sanitation, and medical treatment, which is the kind of thing that makes Starmer a particularly nasty individual, that he is not only willing to cynically deny acknowledgement of a genocide or perpetrate it, whatever, he will then actively try and use the legal consequences of the war crime against his enemies, whatever. So there's literally nothing that he will stop at. Complete evil. So now as millions are bombed, starved, forcibly displaced, denied water, sanitation, electricity, and medical treatment in Sudan and Gaza, he is on the one hand not just covering for Israel, but providing direct military assistance, suppressing anti-genocide speech, and on the other, courting the favor of regimes that are financing and arming genocidal militaries in Sudan. So the British government's donation of £120 million in response to the brutal war in Sudan, which it is complicit, is completely inadequate, even to salve the guilty consciences of British politicians, and not even a drop in the ocean of Britain's colonial and exploitative abuses in Sudan for well over a century. The British government boasts of doubling its aid to Sudan, yet this is a drop in the ocean of need. Over 30 million Sudanese are in desperate need, and famine is spreading. Isn't it nice how the genocidal maniacs pat themselves on the back for pretending to help people? Britain's record is not just one of duplicity, but of complicity. So last year, there was criticism of Britain's defense engagement Sudan program, which saw £2.2 million spent on training Sudanese forces, strengthening the very military machine accused of mass rape and ethnic cleansing in Darfur. That's what I'm saying. They're literally perpetrating it. It's like when you ask, why does Mali have to kick the French out? Because the French are not actually fighting the terrorists. They're actually making sure they never go away. So British support dressed up as diplomacy has perpetuated the cycle of violence and abuse. Britain, with its history of intervention, by the way, Canada's head of state, same motherfucking monarch, propping up the other monarchies. Let's not be monarchists anymore in the 21st century. We're such modern, hip people, whatever. We got drones and AI and everything, but we got fucking kings and queens still. What the fuck? So, fuck. Anyway, Britain, with its history of intervention, its military training, its half-hearted aid, and its diplomatic doublespeak, stands not as a savior, but as an enabler. Britain's record in Sudan is not one of leadership, but of failure. Failure to protect, failure to act, and failure to stand on the right side of history. Starmer's refusal even to acknowledge that genocide is occurring in Sudan is a shameful abdication, abdicate the throne, fuckers, of Britain's obligations under international law. In the face of genocide, complicity is a crime. In the wider context of the history of British colonialism and imperialism, and of Britain's collusion in Israel's genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity in Gaza, it is yet more evidence that his government is utterly unfit for purpose. And we go around calling these nations nations. And we think that because we want a nation that can do good, that's helpful to our cause. When the most powerful nations are the ones that make the biggest mockery of the concept of nationalism, right? So we should get into kind of the, welcome back, Abby. We should get into the Israeli influence on, as much as we can always attack China or the UK or the US. I did talk a little bit about US and Israel using the satellite imagery that they're trying to, there's a propaganda narrative about blood on the soil. Let me just, I should share this UN thing that I've been mentioning. Blood on the sand, blood on the hands. This is something that Sabby mentioned briefly at the, like she shared the headline in her at the beginning of the interview there, which we didn't finish if you wanted to go back, but it might be best for the sake of time to move on. But this is the narrative they're going with. The satellite images prove the genocide in El Fasher is happening wherever. Point the fingers at the RSF until they're ready to point the finger at the SAF, and then whatever, do nothing about it. So basically they're trying to say El Fasher has descended into an even darker hell. Senior UN officials warned as the rapid support forces seized control of the North Darfur capital after a 500-day siege, forcing tens of thousands to flee on foot amid reports of mass executions, rape, and starvation. But the UN's done nothing to stop any of the genocides anywhere in the world. So they can sit here and they can be all condemnatory. But you know what it reminds me of? They're just like, you know how they have this old thing about this? They're really good at tricking us into, like the old tricks have always worked. If they say, "Oh, this genocide's happening over there, everybody go help us rob this country," and then we all go do it because we're all such good, you know, good-natured people. We just want to do the right thing, and they keep using us as useful idiots. And then now, everyone's tapped out. We just can't help even if we wanted to. And now they're all like, "Hey, what the fuck, guys? We're trying to motivate you or whatever. We're whistling the dog whistle or whatever. Why aren't you guys mobilizing? Get the fuck out there." Right? It's like, why wouldn't you stop causing this problem so you can stop asking us to deal with it when you know we're not even going to able to ever be able to do that, right? There's some weird psychological fucking, like crazy white psychological warfare going on against the average person nowadays. So we're pretty lost. And that's like, because you can't really mobilize when you're psychologically gaslit your entire life or whatever. You just have no base to work with, you know? Because at the end of this UN article, where is it saying? I don't really want to read it because I'm just like, fuck the UN. But I urge colleagues to study the latest satellite imagery of El Fasher, blood on the sand, he told ambassadors. And I urge colleagues to study the world's continued failure to stop this, blood on the hands. Fuck you, you fucking imperialist United Nations. Okay?
What they're going to start doing is having those theft commercials about, like they did it for the old Jewish people, or they don't have any food to eat in Ukraine. Send $5 a day. Oh, the Africans, send $5 a day.
They know exactly how evil they are. They keep
now
doing
it's going to be
it,
the Sudan people. Send $5 a day. When they're the ones, like,
I got
send $5 to you. The same people who are causing this.
I was mentioning the satellite imagery from the UN's talking about. I have a little video here from the company, the satellite company, whatever. They do their promos, right? Because they want money from investors. Yeah, I put it there in the private chat. But maybe just before we move on to the next. It's a short.
Well, I have one. Video. I have one while I'm pulling it up.
But just as a nice juxtaposition, I'm saying, like, if you played mine, whatever, just before this, whatever, comparing the UN that likes to act like they're all serious and noble and the authoritative source, the legitimate body that you should be trusting. And then they say, trust these satellite images, right? Well, look at the company.
Would you prefer me to play it before?
Yeah, just play it real quick. It's like a minute and a half or whatever. Like, it's just like it's just like one of those flashy promos that a company does to try and attract investment and stuff. And it's like, but the language that they're using, they're so imperialist, and they just don't say that that's what they are or whatever, but they sound so like fascist in their advertisements. And I just kind of want to show you, like, that's a fascist UN, right? That's what it looks like. So, but because the UN is like the clean in the man in the suit version of the fascist or whatever. They're never allowed to portray themselves as like very Nazi-esque or whatever out there or whatever, but they wash the blood off the hands legally for the fascists around the world. So if they're not fascists, they're worse, right? The lawyers around the world. That's why I can't get assistance from lawyers, because I hate them so much, because they're so responsible for so much, and they keep like, and they're so noble, right? They're the ones who will. They're so comfortable with lying, and I hate comfortable liars. So you got it ready here? Yeah, sorry. Thanks.
Yeah.
This is the Vantar rebrands as Maxar or whatever. This is the satellite
commercial imaging satellite ever flown.
Go Worldview 3.
Hopefully we don't get copyright. We are criticizing the fuck out of stuff.
You wanted to say something?
No, sorry. Go ahead. I'm just saying, I hope we don't get a copyright strike for this, but we are criticizing, I'll put the fair use thing up. We are criticizing the fuck out of these people. We are not just trying to steal their copyrighted material for money. We don't want to make money on this video here tonight. So
We don't make money at all.
yeah.
But okay, let's go.
The most agile commercial imaging satellite ever flown.
Go Worldview 3.
Go Worldview Legion.
There's something probably extremely important to point out. So that's the satellite imaging, whatever. We're going to use the satellite imagery to confirm the war crimes of all those people down on the earth, whatever, that we're exploiting, actually. You know what? How do we get this satellite up in the sky? Where did the materials to build this satellite come from? Probably the very region that we're accusing people of genocide down there, right? So there's a huge conflict of interest there. So that's just kind of why I felt the satellites, proxies, puppets, and Syco Tyrants is an effective name for this stream, because they're really trying to pull the wool over our eyes by using the proceeds of all of their genocides to create the technology to then create their scapegoat, whatever, to get to wash their blood off their hands or whatever legally, right? So we just need to be highly skeptical of the narratives we're hearing and the technology being used, whatever. You got to follow the money. We're going to follow the technology now. Who's providing it, right? So because the company Advent International that bought, like the people that started that, the Maxar Technologies, that's now Vantor, whatever, they keep changing their name, right? Kind of like a criminal needs to keep changing the mask on their face to get away with it. So Advent International now owns the Maxwell Technologies, but also Advent International, I have an article here, agrees 2.5 billion takeover of Israel's Sapiens, whatever, which is like a artificial intelligence and software as a service kind of thing. So as much as everyone's like, oh, I need that technology, whatever, to stay ahead of all the competitors in this capitalist world, right? The more you think like that, the more you're basically supporting the Israelis and the venture capitalists that support them. So
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Are you all right? You
Sorry.
having a moment there?
Yeah, a little bit. But the show must go on. So here we go.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's if you either kind of come across as a little bit callous and like I'm trying to crack jokes about this kind of shit and I shouldn't be, maybe, and it's like,
Oh no,
but that's sort of like the coping mechanism, right? Like you gotta laugh at it so as not to cry about it, or because if we talk about this stuff,
it's
how
not
bad,
even about that.
right?
It's
Okay,
not
sorry.
about that. It's my mom. Okay.
Oh, okay. So then we got personal
talked
things that we're
about
trying to put in the back of our mind
Yeah.
so we can confront confront a serious topic of other people suffering, whatever. And it's really, like you gotta like kind of, empathy is a good thing, but having too much of it actually makes it very difficult to even just communicate about this stuff, because it's like heartbreaking. So, and there's enough to break your heart out there already. So
it's enough to break your heart out there already. So let's just focus on. See, okay, there we go.
Out of Sudan are horrifying, and humanitarian organizations are warning that what we are seeing are mass killings and large-scale ethnic cleansing. Over the weekend, the Rapid Support Forces, paramilitary rebels fighting against Sudan's army, seized the city of Al Fasher in the Darfur region. Videos and testimonies suggest that since then, RSF fighters have been executing large numbers of civilians, often filming themselves as they do it. Now, videos show bodies in trenches and strewn in fields. Researchers at Yale University are studying satellite images that they say show piles of bodies from mass executions. To give a sense of the scale of the killing, they say that bloodstains on the ground are visible from the satellite. The WHO today said 4 had killed at just one maternity hospital. Now, experts are making 2 years civil war is estimated to have killed 150,000 and driven 14 million people from their homes. The capture of Al Fasher means the RSF now controls all of Darfur, splitting the country in two. Experts say that we now may be seeing the final stage of the Darfur genocide that was attempted 2 decades ago. The non-Arab population being killed and driven out. And researchers warn that this is
sounds like
just the beginning of the
if I've ever heard it.
I was trying to find the video where the Sudanese people were showing that they were showing like the oh, I think this is it. Here it is. Let me play this for you, because you already know what it is. You already know what it is, and I'm about to show you right now. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait. Yeah, you can't see it yet. Here we go. Got to change the layout. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm discombobulated. I'm not in a good space, okay? So, yeah.
دي أدلة غامضة تتأكد إنه الإماراتية تدخلت تدخل إماراتية. ولو يقربنا الصورة هنا يونايتد عرب إمارات وأبو ظبي. تاريخ الصنع شهر 1/20/20. دي الحاجات اللي لقيناها بس في شنو؟ في طرف المدينة. دي الكتابة هنا ممكن تقرب الصورة. الإمارات العربية المتحدة كلها.
The problem is that the SAS is also funded by the same group. It's like maybe the SAF's not so directly funded by the UAE, but they're funded by people who fund the UAE and back them in all kinds of ways. Like there are too many. It's a circle jerk of corruption. Like everyone is complicit in this conflict. That's why it's not so easy to say let's stop the genocide, or let's stop all the bad actors all at once. That I actually, when I don't talk about this genocide, where I usually consider those people to be legitimate actors. So it's like the dirty.
It's a story as old as time.
Yeah.
Story as old as time.
Because I had an article, Israeli, a behind-the-scenes power broker in Sudan, and Sudan's Iranian rapprochement gives control of the Red Sea to BRICS. So those, I wanted to kind of read those, some of the from those before we sign off here. We're getting to be almost 2 hours, so. But I'm just trying to give
And
people.
I gotta go. I gotta go because I'm gonna fall apart in a little
Yeah,
while.
sounds good. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Today I'm in a better mood, whatever. But like, it's been a roller coaster all year, right? For a lot of people, me included. So let's hope you can get some stable ground under you. Can
Make it bigger.
see that? Is it too small? Yeah. Is that
There
big
you
enough?
go.
A little bit bigger?
A little bit bigger.
Done. Okay. There we go. So
That's
Israel,
perfect. Thank you.
behind the scenes power broker. This is from 2024, but they've been at this for a long time. So this is just kind of good context, right? So of the many foreign powers influencing this bloody conflict, Tel Aviv could help claw it back if it wanted to. It's long been clear that the road to peace in Sudan runs through Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, America's 3 closest Arab allies. Uh-oh. But last month, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reminded Sudanese that he has a stake in their country too. Speaking at the UN General Assembly in September, Netanyahu caused a stir among Sudanese, and he held up 2 maps, the curse and the blessing. The first had Israel's sworn enemies, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen, marked in black. The second had its friends in green, among them Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Sudan. Shortly after that, Israeli journalist Jonathan Liss wrote that Israel was floating a possible deal to end the fighting in Gaza, in which senior Hamas leaders would go into exile in Sudan. Hamas denied it. Yahya Sinwar would rather die in Gaza than flee to safety. The Sudanese Armed Forces, or SAF, denied it too, but the fact that Sudan is on Israel's radar brings into focus, there's a little typo, I wonder if that was written by AI or not, into focus how Sudan's war is entangled in the Middle East's higher profile conflicts. In 2020, as part of a deal in which the Trump administration removed Sudan's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism, Sudan agreed to join the Abraham Accords. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of Sudan's Sovereignty Council and de facto head of state, met with Netanyahu in Kampala, Uganda. The breakthrough meeting was hosted by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni, but it was brokered by UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed, known as MBZ. Sudan then froze Hamas assets in Sudan. Yes, in Sudan. So this is why, as much as UAE, it's the blob, right? It's the empire. They all keep each other alive. So the UAE is Israel, is the US kind of thing, is Great Britain, right? Maybe that's too simplistic, but it's partly to, like, we're allowing ourselves to. It's so complicated. I don't understand. Whatever. The people you thought are allies are our enemies in a lot of ways. Sorry. In the last days of the Trump administration, al-Burhan signed the declarative section of the Abraham Accord in the presence of then U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. Plans for a formal signing with Israel moved slowly, with the timetable reportedly agreed only in February 2023, when Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen visited Khartoum. Al-Burhan's deputy at the time, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hamedi, also had close ties with Israel. He developed close relations with the UAE, renting out his Rapid Support Force units to fight as mercenaries in Yemen, which we already talked about, where he also established strong links with Israel's Mossad. When war broke out in Sudan in April 2023, pitting the 2 generals against each other, Israel was in contact with both men. So that kind of needs to, when war broke out, Israel was in contact with both of the generals on both sides, and they were like, oh, that's cool. I'll take advice from you. Who gives advice to my enemy? I'll take material support from you who materially supports my enemy. Nothing nothing could go wrong, right? The foreign ministry that's where I say the Syco tyrants, like sycophants and tyrants, they're psychopaths. It's like, that's what they are. These generals, whatever, what the fuck? Like crazy ass fuck. So the foreign ministry leaned towards Al Burhan and the SAF, Mossad towards the RSF. So Israel's whatever different branches of their government, whatever, back different sides of the war. It's like they're playing a game in somebody else's country and everyone lets it go on. What the fuck? Israel's Arab friends also back different sides in the war. Egypt supports the SAF in line with its tradition of backing Khartoum's military establishment, of maintaining Sudan as a traditional vassal of Egypt, basically. The UAE provides extensive support to the RSF, even while the private bank of Khartoum, which is majority owned by UAE financiers, is the main financial conduit for SAF. Saudi Arabia leans towards SAF, worried by the UAE's destabilizing role in the Red Sea, which it considers its own backyard. It's what they call the great game, the 3D chess, right? That's the imperialism. During 18 months of fighting, a succession of mediation initiatives by the US, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and African leaders have come to nothing. Oh, I wonder why. One reason for this is that each time Al Burhan agrees to meet Hamedi or to send a delegation to do so, the leader of Sudan's powerful Islamists, Ali Karti, vetoes the move. I should have researched who this guy is. He sounds like he's important in all of this, but to be continued, maybe. So, Washington has put Karti under sanctions for actively obstructing efforts to reach a ceasefire. Karti now lives in Doha. So they probably put him under sanctions while telling him to do this for us because we need somebody for plausible deniability. So the Sudanese Islamists have long-standing ties to Hamas, which was a member of the Khartoum-based Popular Arab and Islamic Congress from the early 1990s, where it established offices, businesses, and training camps. Hamas sourced weapons from Sudan, provoking Israeli airstrikes. Active cooperation cooled in 2014 under pressure from Saudi Arabia. This is one of those things reminds me of the conversation about like Hamas being backed by Israel ultimately, and it's all just a really cynical show that we got to support the freedom fighters. But that organization in its initial stages was maybe supported as a way to destabilize like the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO. But then whether or not Hamas and Israel still have any kind of like mutual interest, mutually inclusive interests or whatever, I would say that they, like, Israel tried to use Hamas and now they want to get rid of them or whatever. And there's very much the same kind of problem that the Sudanese armies have here. As much as they took support from Israel or whatever, when Israel's done with them, they very much are just as likely to start to treat them, like throw them under the bus, and then using the act of betraying the people they've been supporting all this time as a way to legitimize themselves, as look at us, we're actually getting rid of these evil people that we made do all these evil things. Aren't we great? So maybe I'm getting too jaded though to be able to understand what's happening anymore. That's kind of the point of all that. So active cooperation cooled in 2014 under pressure from Saudi Arabia. Egypt and Saudi Arabia, despite their longstanding aversion to the Muslim Brothers, have come to believe that the Sudanese Islamists can be managed and no longer pose a threat beyond their own borders. Egypt's recent tripartite pact with Eritrea and Somalia also embraces the Damul Jadid group, a branch of the Muslim Brothers in Somalia. Cairo and Riyadh have been ready to see money and weapons flow to SAF from Qatar, Turkey, and even Iran, but Abu Dhabi remains hostile to Islamists, so far unpersuaded by Egypt's argument that if it can live with the Muslim Brothers next door, the Emirates should be able to do so too. So this kind of really detailed pointing the fingers at, this really makes me need to figure out what this responsiblestatecraft.org, whatever, who's the source here. I think the reason why I was calling this article up, no, maybe not this one, but with all of this going on or whatever, something important to remember is Russia's involvement with, like, you point the finger at UAE and Turkey and Qatar or whatever, Saudi Arabia, but Russia's Wagner was training the RSF, right? Trained both, actually, I think. Trained both the armies before the RSF split off. And so now we just so happen to have blood on Russia's hands, but we can't talk about that because Russia and Ukraine were ever big hero, saving the day. BRICS is great nation, right? So maybe I should switch to my other article here.
Because, I mean, that's interesting. That's very interesting because, well, I'm just going to say it. America is about to go into a depression. I mean, maybe it may age like spoiled milk, but I'm seeing it and I'm believing it. And I'm not quite sure we're not about to go into a World War III. I'm not quite sure about that.
It's like one of those things.
I'm not trying to be scary or whatever. I'm just saying I'm reading and I'm looking and I'm observing, and it don't look good.
No, I know. But like the Cold War is supposedly cold. It was very hot for a lot of people in the third world. To call it a Cold War for them, it seems a little ridiculous. And these places are still hot. They never cooled down. So the idea that World War III is just around the corner for a lot of people in these regions, I'm sure they're like, fuck you, man. World War III has definitely been well underway for a long time now. Where are you? Wake up, right? Get to the same page. But for those of us in the imperial core, World War III isn't happening until our nation's at war. And our nation will never go to war because if they officially go to war, then the world is doomed in a nuclear apocalypse. So we have to have an unofficial World War III where we never actually go to war so that we get to claim that World War III is just around the corner. See how, like people in the West, not necessarily like even the anti-imperialist people, the way that we're defining what's going, like we're trying to analyze the situation, we can often be like, oh no, but we're not in the worst of it yet because we're still comfortable over here. So until we're starving, World War III is around the corner. You know what I mean? Because it's a reason not to act because desperate times call desperate measures.
I mean,
so as long as
I hear what you're saying.
But I'm being dramatic right now. You're right. Like, I don't know.
Rondo said World War III started in 2001.
Yeah, good point.
No, I'm talking
September 1.
All right, I'm too emotional, so let me just shut the fuck up.
No, actually, I think. No. Let me just read up this last little bit, and then
read that.
Yeah. Because this thing about BRICS is going to save the world, okay? And then that's the thing, though. I have to really look into who are these Simpic Group or whatever.com. Like, you look up stuff, and at least it's not CNN, but it's probably some fucking neocon think tank. So, grain of salt. But let's read what I've found in my searches here. So, Sudan's Iranian. Oh, maybe that doesn't make it any better. Sudan's Iranian rapprochement gives control of the Red Sea to BRICS. This is October 11, 2023. The conflict's been going on for a couple of years now, right? So a little noticed diplomatic development that has significant regional and global implications by Chris Devonshire Ellis. It's been little noticed in the media, but Monday's statement by the governments of Iran and Sudan that they are to reestablish diplomatic relations after 7 years of divorce has effectively handed control of the entire Red Sea and Suez Canal access to the BRICS and BRICS-friendly nations. Sounds pro-imperialist, doesn't it? Like, oh, we better not let those BRICS people get control of Sudan because the people who control it now are doing such a better job at it, right? And that would just be a disaster. At the most recent BRICS summit, it was decided amongst the original BRICS members, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, to expand the group by another 6 countries from January 1st next year. These include Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. So all the ones that they happen to include in their expansion are the ones who have a very vested interest in maintaining the genocide continuity in Sudan, except for Argentina, which we know is not in BRICS because fucking Milei, whatever, by getting him in power, they made sure that they stayed out of BRICS, which is like, that's the whole thing. They want these bad actors in BRICS, and they want to keep maybe countries like Sudan and stuff that would actually benefit for being in BRICS, whatever. Then they want them to be like the last to join, kind of thing, if they have to join at all. And because these countries benefit from keeping Sudan poor, so, but they're allowed to be in BRICS. That's why I'm saying like it's going to save the world. But it sounds like a capitalist reset of the global world order, where they can take their proceeds from investing in the U.S. for the past however long, and they can just invest in the rise of the East, and the East is happy to take their money or whatever because they would rather be on top, kind of thing. So while Argentina's acceptance of this offer may not be realized, and was not, because this is an old article, now we know it was not realized due to changing political winds in the country and election poise, whatever. The remaining 5 new BRICS members are all MENA influential, which is, what is MENA? Middle East. I don't know if it's said in this article. I hate when they do that. They mention an abbreviation without explaining what it is. But Middle East something association or whatever, and that includes the Red Sea. So as can be seen, the Red Sea includes Egypt, Sudan, and Eritrea on the western shores, with Ethiopia also a significant, albeit non-coastal presence. To the eastern shores lies Saudi Arabia, and to the north, on the Persian Gulf, the UAE. We recently discussed the implications of these MENA countries joining in the following articles, which we're not going to get into. Sudan's reestablishing of diplomatic relations with Iran is therefore of considerable importance when considering the overall development of the BRICS influence within the MENA and Red Sea regions. The move essentially passes control of the entire Red Sea to the BRICS friendly nations. There are other links that solidify the relationship between Sudan and the BRICS. Sudan's main import partners today are China, 78% of the total, but all of that economic influence doesn't seem to be stopping the genocide, right? But so China can get paid, but can't really, I don't know, sorry guys. Sorry to see you suffering there. Talk to your neighbor, whatever. Work it out. You can do it, because they're not going to be, I guess, more
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Can we give Mousy tell him he's gonna do great?
Oh,
he has to go rehearse. He has a show next week, and he has to get prepared.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out for a little while.
And you're gonna be amazing. You're gonna be amazing.
Good luck. Yeah, you got this. I'm sure he doesn't need my. It sounds like he's been a musician for he's a veteran, whatever. He's got this. What's up, Chief 18 Wheels?
Yeah.
Good to see you. Where was I here?
Sorry for cutting you off. I just do that when people are leaving and we have to say bye or whatever. So
anytime you need to cut me off, please go ahead. I'll try and shut up as soon as possible. So Sudan's main import partners are China and the UAE, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Italy. Does that not sound fascist to anyone at all, besides me? Like the most fascist countries out there, these 4 kind of thing. Saudi Arabia, Machiavellian geniuses. Ooh, no, fucking fascist. All right, Wahhabi fascist, whatever. 3 out of 5 being BRICS. BRICS doesn't seem to care if you're fascist. Red Brown Alliance, nothing to see there. Sudan's top 5 export markets are 100% BRICS: China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India, and the UAE. More fascism. Just saying. Sudan has also regional clout. It is Africa's 3rd largest country by area and is a member of the League of Arab States, which also includes Algeria, Bahrain, Comoros, Djibouti, Egypt, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Lebanon, Libya, Mauritania, Morocco, Oman, Palestine, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, the United Arab Emirates, and Yemen. Interestingly, the League of Arab States also includes observer nations Brazil and India, both also BRICS members, and Eritrea, an additional Red Sea nation. So it sounds like we probably want to read up about this League of Arab States, because it sounds kind of like the OAS, the Organization of American States, which is kind of a puppet kind of organization, whatever. As much as it's about the nations, it's about these supranational organizations that these nations are forming that are regional economic alliances, if not like security alliances and everything. So then your membership in the alliance, whatever, kind of takes away your sovereignty in a way, or in exchange for benefits of being a part of that alliance, or no? I guess I might have that wrong. Sudan and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. The rapprochement of bilateral relations between Iran and Sudan will undoubtedly create a significant resurgence of trade and could also lead to Sudan joining the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a dialogue partner. Iran is already a full member of the SCO. This is an old article. We should have, if you got time, maybe you want to look up to see if Sudan ever did join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Abby, I think that would be
Did
that would be
Sudan,
nice to find out. Yeah. Did Sudan join the Shanghai Cooperation Organization? Iran is already a full member of the SCO, while other Arabic dialogue partners include Bahrain, Egypt, Kuwait.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was on mute. I was on mute. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sudan join.
It should be a quick yes or no Google kind of question.
Join the Shanghai organization. I don't know how to spell Shanghai. I'm sorry.
SHANGHAI.
Oh, SHANGHAI. JHI. Okay, I got you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, thanks.
It says you want me to
yeah, I figured
answer right now.
It just should be a quick yes or no kind of. If you just searched it, just because it's an old article, so that what they're saying in the article is that
it's no.
Yeah, the rapprochement of bilateral relations between Iran and Sudan will undoubtedly create a significant resurgence of trade and could lead to Sudan joining the SCO. But the truth is, with a benefit of being in 2025, reading this article from 2023, now we see that whoever was writing this might have been hopeful that Iran is going to be the big brother to Sudan and help them up out of the mud, right? But sounds like not really, because what they need is to exploit Sudan, China and Iran too. Okay, the Belt and Road Initiative. I think they're going to get into it in a moment. Sudan, they mentioned in Sabi video. Sudan is like. Sorry, what's that? Go ahead.
I was just asking, would you like me to read further and explain?
Oh, yeah, there's a little bit more. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry. I thought that was all there was.
It says, no, Sudan has not joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as a full member. Okay, I gotta fix mine. The current members are China, Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan. Did I say that right? I think so. And Uzbekistan and Belarus. Sudan has not been mentioned as an observer state or dialogue partner either in recent official lists. Egypt is the only African state that holds a dialogue partner status. You can find the most. Don't worry about that part. All right, so that's it.
So that answers that nice and more clearly and completely. I appreciate that. But then, just like Ukraine, right? Sudan is a little bit too war-torn for you guys to be allowed into the big boys club right now. Okay, you gotta solve your shit first. All right, you know the big boys club is like, ooh, I got bets on who's gonna win this, and the bets are paid for in the gold from the country that they're betting on, probably. Yeah. So. Yeah, but in the Savvy video, the guy was mentioning Sudan is like a trade crossroads. So the BR Belt and Road Initiative or whatever, they have their eyes on Sudan. So, but you got to go now, you're saying?
I have to leave again for a minute because I thought T was here and she's not, and I need to go just make sure my mom is. I'll be back. Okay.
All right. Let me
I'll
just
be
try.
right back.
Sounds good. I'll see you. So we were at this. It could lead to Sudan joining the SCO as a dialogue partner, but it didn't. So then Iran is already a full member of the SCO, while other Arab dialogue partners. I think we just read about that. Let's skip to the next paragraph. Such a move would strengthen the SCO in the MENA region and possibly assist with developing solutions to the problematic conflicts happening in Yemen and Somalia. I doubt it. To date, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been opposite sides of these conflicts. China and Russia will want to see this resolved, while the benefits in terms of increased security and trade will be regionally welcomed. It should be noted that both China and Russia have Red Sea naval bases that can be used to protect shipping, as well as serve as a deterrent to regional conflicts. Russia's base is on the Sudan coast. So they can, they have naval bases to protect shipping, to protect resource extraction, serve as a deterrent to the conflict breaking out of Sudan, but they don't seem to have any ability to actually stop the conflict. So it's kind of like managing the conflict, you know. Sudan has a population of 49 million and a GDP of 207 billion. Iran's population of 89 million. Figures of 1.69 trillion instead of 2.7 billion. These differences mean that Iran and potentially other BRICS nations will be able to ship some manufacturing to Sudan to take advantage of lower production costs. This trend of relocating manufacturing to the African Red Sea nations is already happening. Russia is discussing investing in and developing of auto manufacturing plants in Ethiopia, with Lada having already contractually agreed to do so. Despite the brand having a Soviet-era lack of respect in the West, the company is one of Russia's top-selling brands and manufactures heavy-duty SUVs, ideal for Africa's sometimes difficult road conditions. Excuse me. Lada intend to sell on to the African market and reach out to auto buyers in Sudan, Kenya, and Somalia. These markets are dominated by Japanese brands, yet using lower-cost production bases in Sudan and Ethiopia, the BRICS countries, and especially China, India, Iran, and Russia, will all be hoping to compete for the lower-cost production base in Sudan and Ethiopia and other African nations. So that's that capitalist logic at work of go where the costs are lowest, right? And find ways to keep those costs low and whatever, do yourself a favor by legally protecting yourself from consequences in the genocide-rich region. So this in turn will also help Sudan and Ethiopia develop their secondary industrial manufacturing markets. In short, both Sudan and Ethiopia can help the other BRICS members compete for cost efficiency in both MENA and other international markets. See, they have to sell it to these African nations, right? You will, by giving us your resources, we're going to help you, right? We're going to help you develop yourself, but they never seem to be developed to a point where they can have actual sovereignty. I wonder how that works. China and India will also be interested in Sudan's gold reserves. Both are the world's leading buyers for the jewelry industry, with Sudan being the African continent's third largest producer. So China is the biggest. China's growing like first of all, China is like the biggest producer of gold. Whatever, they got tons of gold already in China, but they're like the biggest consumer of gold. And this whole thing about BRICS, we're going to make it about the gold standard. That sounds like their plan of dominating America is about ensuring that they dominate Africa. So tell me how that's not imperialist. Because I've kind of gone on too long, whatever. We got to maybe call it quits, but maybe now's a good time. I said I only wanted to share 2 more articles.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm very distracted. I'm really sorry. I'm very distracted.
We'll have you could call me after, and there's it sounds like you got some stuff you want to get off your chest, kind of thing. But just briefly, I won't maybe read this. I'll share it in the Discord. and we can maybe plug the Discord. Anybody want to join so they can read some of these or in their own time or whatever. But what's interesting going on with this tariff war with the Trump, this article is from June 21st, 2025, decoding China's zero tariff trade offer, generous or self-serving. So apparently with this whole trade war, everyone's focused on the tariff rates that America is putting on to everyone else. But I can't see, where's my link here. Like China has been offering, there it is. China is giving like tariff-free access to the Chinese market to all 53 African countries except for Eswatini, I think it is. So
can I stop you for 1 second? Can we say good night to Jacqueline?
Yeah.
Good night, Jacqueline.
Have a good night, Jack. Thanks for joining. Getting too tired. Understand the subject. Gonna watch it on replay. Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it's just late for her, so.
Yeah, it is. It's getting late for us too. We're trying not to go too much later. And also, I see Fiddleford's there. Thanks for joining us. What's up? Always good to see you.
Hey, Fiddleford.
We must be careful, or our former colonizers will become our future investors. Very sounds like very good quote. I'm not sure who it's from. Very good. So I don't maybe want to get too much into this. Maybe we should just call it a night instead of reading this article. I've already done a lot of reading today, but I think it's very interesting to notice that Trump is trying to impose heavy tariffs on everybody who doesn't listen, and China is doing like literally it's almost like a carrot and stick, but it's supposedly two opposing sides. So China is all about tariff-free access. All 53 African countries with diplomatic relations to China will now be able to export 98% of taxable goods tariff-free. But then what is that actually, how much does that benefit the African nations? In a way, what that does is it incentivizes them to ship their raw materials unprocessed to China to kind of get their, access to the while it's tariff-free or whatever, take advantage of it kind of thing, right? But it doesn't necessarily help them gain more sovereignty or whatever, like fix the trade deficit and sort of thing. So maybe we'll get into that topic next week or something. But I keep promising my son I'm going to talk about this Roblox predator situation. But then it seemed timely and relevant to talk about this Sudan issue. So I'm just the more I look into it, the more I'm getting suspicious of China, because how you do this gold standard cryptocurrency, whatever, replace the US dollar hegemony thing, you're creating a boom for the global demand for gold. And you should be fully aware that that's gonna, people like the UAE are gonna be like, thank you so much, China. And China's like, well, come into our alliance.
And let's not act like China isn't using Africa to fix their billion people problem. And Africa has the resources.
That's another excellent.
And why are there Chinese police officers in Africa? Like, what the fuck?
That's another angle I could have taken it here.
Let's not act like
the
China
thing to
is
keep
on
in mind
their
about
side.
the power of the Chinese Communist Party is specifically more like influential within China domestically, right? They have the ability to create the laws, right? But what happens outside of the borders of China? They have Chinese companies have to then follow the laws of whatever country that they're in. They're actually encouraged to try and play by the rules of the international norm, which of the capitalist system, so as to not be too much of the communist threat, right? So there's two kind of Chinas here, right? There's China at home and China abroad. China abroad is much more capitalistic because but they're capitalistic for the strategy of the Chinese, right? But that doesn't, there's still Chinese capitalists or whatever that are playing, they're doing everything a capitalist is expected to do, whatever. But they're communists because they're communists at home. Like, I don't know. There's too much to analyze all at once. I'm getting a little bit frustrated.
I think we need to do like a Sudan. I think we need to do another show just because. I mean, I thoroughly apologize. I'm just not here.
That's okay. You feel free to rewatch
Just
this
not here.
episode, and then we'll come give it another crack at it, because we just like we talk about the Palestine-Israel issue recurrently, because it's as long as it's genocide's going on, we shouldn't stop talking about it. We should start doing the same thing with Sudan,
Right.
because the more I look at it, we start to see that it is basically the same conflict. If Israel didn't exist, they wouldn't be able to continue fucking around in Sudan and benefiting from destabilizing someone else. They're actually destabilized themselves badly because they can't just focus on themselves. That's kind of the main problem with imperial. That's what does the empire in every time it collapses, because America's not the first empire, right? They always stretch themselves too thin and meddle in everyone else's business.
Yeah.
And then they get destabilized themselves because they love to destabilize everyone. They just obsessed with it. So anyway.
And then we got to talk about this depression that's coming, like 1929.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. People
that's
say
how
the
I
same thing. Are we in World War III? I got people asking me still to this day, do you think we're in a recession? Yes, I think we've been in a recession. We're in a depression. We've been like we're there since 2008, right? But they lie about everything. So
No, but I think we're about to get into a 1929 depression where people gonna be fighting over fucking squirrels in the street type of depression.
Let's just be very simple. Like, what's the 1+1 that should be easy for everyone to do here? What if you want the US dollar hegemony to collapse domestically in the US? What is that likely to create? The worst recession we've seen, the worst depression we've seen in years, because the US is not trying to make it a soft exit, soft landing. They're making it a hard crash because they're doing all the risky things they are to try and stay in the air, right? So the American people, when it finally the chickens come home to roost, whatever, it's going to hit us harder than not like 1929 or whatever is not really an adequate example because no one's ever seen how bad it's going to get. So,
thank you so much.
and the whole thing about the technology is going to be our savior. It's going to be the savior for those small few, while the rest of us are left out in the open. So.
Yeah. Right. You can't fall into apathy and all that stuff, which I have, but
what we should be doing is now more than ever,
you just can't stay in it that long.
We should not, instead of, you got to laugh about it to cry or whatever, you got to fucking scream about it. But you're not laughing about it like a weird maniac. We need to be like furious about this stuff. They're playing with us like we're a computer game or whatever. We're real people, okay? You're destroying our lives all around the world. We have every right to take whatever part of you off of the rest of you.
The chaos and the confusion is the point.
Yeah.
That's what they need. They need us to be frantic and scared because they are fucking psychopaths. Like it's funny to them.
Like Lance says, but Michael, we need more ballrooms. You got me there. Of course, you're right. Let's stop nothing because we need more ballrooms. Okay, I think we're a bit tapped out tonight.
Well, that Great Gatsby party was a slap in the fucking face.
Great, what's that? Gatsby party?
Trump had a Great Gatsby party in Mar-a-Lago.
Oh,
for
Great
Halloween.
Gatsby, right? Yeah. Oh, see, I try not to follow too much of this stuff. Yeah, because
I have a Southern drawl.
I don't need to hear it. It doesn't change my life to know that Trump's up to that, right? But it does, as far as knowing where you're at. Take another snapshot. Still on the arc towards more fascism.
Yeah. So we should just stay vigilant and start thinking about what are we gonna do? I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm just saying. I mean, I tried to start a garden. The goddamn squirrels and not raccoons. What? I forget what their name was. They were eating all my food.
Yeah, well,
So
unfortunately, I think the
now I
advice
gotta
of what
spend money.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to spend money to protect the food from the animals.
Well, that idea of being
Oh, opossums.
self-sufficient,
That's what they were. Squirrels and opossums.
that's a lot of like the what is it? The survivalist kind of the catastrophist kind of people, like the end of times people. They go build their bunkers and shit, whatever. Like be self-sufficient. You see the writing on the wall, everything. Everyone sees
No,
how
I'm
bad
not
things
trying
are.
to
So
build a
what's their
bunker.
response?
I'm just trying to
No, I know. I'm
make
saying
sure I can
there's
eat.
a general like reaction that people have learning about this stuff is okay. Let's become as self-sufficient or whatever, and so that like cut ourselves off, like go off grid, live, and then that'll protect us, kind of thing. But I feel like the actual thing that we need to be doing
Oh,
is
I'm not like that.
organizing collectively, and that's kind of the opposite of organizing collectively is trying to go be a survivalist in the woods or whatever, right? Like I know you're not
Oh no,
saying
I'm not
preppers.
like
That's the
that.
word.
No.
I know you're not a prepper, but that's where I'm saying we resist the urge to be a prepper. You can have a garden and stuff. That's always been a good thing, right? But like we need way
Always my
bigger. We need way bigger responses to this. Like, and I was gonna say we need like different advice for different ages, kind of thing. Like people in their 50s and their 60s and stuff. As much as they'd be appreciative for them to be revolutionary and fighting the fights on the streets or whatever, we need like people on the supply side, whatever. People who can have a refuge that we can go to, or whatever. They need to not be on the sidelines to provide that for us, right? Or on the front lines. And then for the younger people, maybe it's not right for you to be a younger person to go build your homestead in the woods or whatever. Maybe we need you now fighting the general strike and whatever. More than that, actually, right? General
yeah, I'm
strike.
not doing
It was
all
gonna
that.
work, would have worked by now. So we need young people to be
When I
like
lived in
hard time, right?
if anybody who's watching knows New York City, I lived in Astoria. So you know it's like a very Italian area or whatever. And I had a garden in my front yard because I didn't have a backyard. I just had a little front yard. And people were stealing shit out of my garden. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, why? Why wouldn't you just walk by and, that's nice? Why are you just coming over here just stealing stuff?
People are justifying it. We live in horrible times. I don't have to be a good person to my neighbor anymore because that's a waste of time. We're starting to see that change, whatever, that only happens in the desperate economic times or whatever. Like, you're in a crisis when, like, every city everywhere, crime is up, kind of thing. Whether statistics say anything, like, people are starting to be more vicious. And it's like, this wasn't like this 10 years ago or whatever. It was in a way. Maybe you just weren't there to see it. Like some people, but like it's more and more people are getting desperate, and they're starting to treat their fellow working class as expendable. That's one of those things we need to pay attention to. Like you see the signs of fascism when working class people have no solidarity with each other and instead start to rob each other, kind of thing, right? Like, pay attention, right? Don't be that. Be better.
Be better. I have a video to go out with, but
yeah, exactly, Rondo. Are you really trying to get shot over some cherry tomatoes?
What's Rondo's name?
Are you really trying to shoot somebody over some cherry
I was just trying to read that.
Sorry. But that's like where we're at. So some people are getting, and some of these younger kids, like we got a lot of faith in the Gen Zs, but I've seen some pretty psychopathic Gen Zers and stuff. They're all like, I'm worried, right? Not like badly educated. You throw some like fentanyl and shit in there, and you've got like crazy young kid.
That's why
Completely propagandized. They don't know what the fuck is going on.
Said I've never said I didn't do certain drugs. I've done drugs, okay, but I can't even do that no more because you don't know if they putting fentanyl on your shit.
Scary out there.
No, thank you. It's scary out
maybe
there.
we're just cowards. Remember, disregard what we just said. Be brave. It's nothing. It's fine. Whatever. It's a flesh wound. Anyway.
No, y'all better be vigilant.
Yeah. Be serious.
Fuck being brave. Yeah. Be vigilant.
Be smart.
These people are getting eviler and eviler. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Like that's all Sean's saying. I stock up on seeds in a freezer. Most seeds stay viable for up to 5 years. There's a lot that we should be doing. Like I'm not saying not to do that, but then that for a lot of people is like that's all that they do, and they kind of don't necessarily agree with people who are advocating for revolutionary politics. And they're considering what they're doing revolutionary in a way. It's like, and then we got a problem about gatekeeping what is and is not revolutionary. But that's like, that's not going to change the. It's not going to seize the means of production. Where I mean, maybe you're slowly.
Rondo,
it's like
you could say
creating your own production in some small ways. Yeah, but you need a lot, like more.
You need
more
money
than the scraps
to grow your own.
Yeah, we need a little bit more than that small scale production, or whatever, for the collective, right? But it is in the meantime, what it does is it relieves some of the dependency that people might have because they can have some independence and they can maybe provide some assistance. So it's good. It's just not enough. That's all I'm trying to say. So I think everyone knows that too. You know.
Everybody talking about gardening in the comments, and I feel you. And I tried it, and I'm telling you, the squirrels and the opossums and the cats ate all my shit up. Everything that grew, it couldn't even halfway grow before it got eaten up. The only thing I have left is green onions, I have basil, and I have rosemary. Everything else got eaten. Wait, did I say eaten?
Provided for the critters.
Eaten.
You're getting more for them than those people who like to put out food for the cats, stray cats or whatever in the cans. It's like you gave them a whole garden's worth.
Right.
And you didn't have to buy it from a corporation. You know what I mean? Giving back.
I grew it myself, and it still got taken away from me.
But instead of being like there's an indigenous wisdom kind of thing is it wasn't so much yours to begin with, you know. I guess it was those critters. They're like, oh, this is mine. this was meant for me. Yeah. And in a way, you support the ecosystem. The ecosystem supports you. So just all good.
Do you remember when you remember that video I showed? I can't remember how far back this show was, and I showed you this video of these. I don't know what they were. Chimps? No, not chimps. I don't know, like little rats or something. I know they had the long 2 teeth or whatever. I don't know what they're called. But you remember I showed you that video where this man had a garden and he's like, what the fuck is eating all my shit? So he put up a video and the animal was like, oh, this is what you want to see?
Oh, it was like,
I'm eating all your shit.
Camera. Yeah, I remember that.
He was all in the camera. You remember that?
Yeah. But you're just...
What kind of animal was that? I don't remember.
I can't remember now. It's probably some kind of like hedgehog or whatever, like chipmunk or whatever. But squirrel maybe.
Oh, hedgehog. Yeah. That's what it was. It was a hedgehog.
Yeah.
Like a squirrel, hedgehog. But it was bigger than a squirrel. So that means it's a hedgehog, right?
But you just... you got a little bit more to learn or whatever. Cowboy Kitty's saying put marigolds around your plants and have 3 dogs and 3 cats to prevent critters. It's like there are there are ways to maybe improve always on your operation there, but you got to when you get start somewhere, you know, you got to learn some things the hard way.
This is the thing. I knew about the marigolds. It keeps insects away and stuff like that. My mom hates cats, and she won't allow me to have. I love cats. She won't allow me to have a cat in this house.
Well, if it's for your garden, though, you kind of need them outside the house, and you can't necessarily control them when they're outside the house. So it's a tricky thing. But having an indoor-outdoor cat.
Yeah, one time all the lights went out in the house, and I have to look for that picture. It's because a cat ran up the pole and like shorted out that box at the top of the pole for the electricity.
Sorry,
and couldn't get down. Yeah, my mom is sus. Yeah, my mom is sus. She is sus.
She's also got the dementia though, so it's like, as far as well, and there's personality traits that come from before the dementia. Like as far as hating cats, I'm sure she's always hated cats, but some of her unreasonable behavior is needs to be forgiven in a way.
She says she doesn't like how they can, you know how cats can pull up their back or whatever. She's like, I don't like that. And
It's
I'm like,
scary.
that's your reasoning?
They look evil.
That's it.
Probably just superstition, you know. People have phobias, right? She must just be a little bit afraid of them.
Yes,
like a lot of people are afraid of dogs, and they're like, they're so sweet. Give them a chance to get to know them, but they look at them and they're like, that thing could bite me. I can't give it a chance.
I got mauled by a pit bull. I bet you never knew that.
I think you maybe mentioned
and
that.
I still love dogs. I still love dogs. It took me a minute to get over it.
Yeah, but that shows
I got over it, and I'm like, why can't you get over it?
You're braver than most, maybe. There you go.
Okay. So I have a video to go out with. If you want to do that.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm ready to get off here. Have a drink, whatever.
It's about Sudan, so.
Sounds good. I hope everyone enjoyed our content tonight. Thanks for being here, everyone.
And let me put my video back on. I'm sorry. I thoroughly apologize that I wasn't all the way in it.
It is hard. So it's like some of the, like everyone focuses on the physical work is what is valuable kind of thing, but some of the mental work is not as easy as we make it out to be, wherever. And part of the difficulty of being on the YouTubes and stuff is you got to be in the right headspace. Like emotionally, it's emotionally taxing to be putting ourselves out there, right? And if you're going through something, it is literally a bigger thing than people make it out to be. People are so dismissive of our problems these days. It's kind of abusive. So you got to need, like if you're having a hard time, just showing up for work or whatever for the stream, I understand, because it's a big ask, actually. It's not a little thing that we're trying to do, right? So,
and I want to say thank you, Michael, because you were like, well, I'll just start, and you come in when you can, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting kind of burnt out too with the online stuff. I don't know if anyone noticed, I'm not like in chats of other shows as much and stuff lately, because I've just been like, the news cycle is starting to, when you're following it for too long, you start to like, you see more problems with everything. You're being too much of a critic, maybe. So I got to find some things to be positive about, you know. And then you get in the trap of being toxic positivity of everything has to be positive. I can't face the real.
So I think the lesson is, everybody stay positive as much as you can. And if you can't, it's okay. take your time, get through that negative situation, and move back into the positive.
Yep.
I think
Because it's
that's
better to
might be the lesson. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say better to go with the ebb and flow rather than try and out of pride, just prove that you can be a stoic about it and you can do it, and eventually you collapse and burn out and you make your apologies. Sorry guys, I'm done now. But if you had just gone with the ebb and the flow and taken it a little bit easier, be the tortoise instead of the hare, then maybe you can go the distance. So, because we need more people now than ever, solidarity. That's what we need.
So with that being said, any last words? I just want to say I love y'all. You are my family. You are my people. You are my comrades. We supposed to say like, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share.
I don't think we said that at all this time tonight. I don't
Not
think we
at all.
anymore. What I would say maybe it's a good. I got my little sign off that I don't really say very often, but on a genocide war topic heavy stream like this, I think it makes sense to say if we treat life like it's a game or a race, the war will be endless. So, tomorrow is not today. So have a good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Okay, I just have to get this off of my chest. The Avatar franchise is 100% based off of South Sudanese people. Literally phenotypically taken from us. Tall, lanky, dark, ethereal, otherworldly. We're not called blue-black for no reason. Names like this new character, Barang. Meanwhile, our homies on the block are called Garang. Gatluak, you've got the Acholi, like Suli. It's not just the Aduts and the Anoks, because when you hear the language of the Na'avi, at least as a South Sudanese person, you're like, Aiwa, Manangachwak, which sounds mad familiar, right? Yeah. And we've been covering ourselves in ash for centuries. It's a tradition shaped by our climate and cattle herding cultural practices. All of our style clothing and drip down to the jewelry, bruh. This man is who they archetyped for sure. Because wouldn't it be weird to see a movie with a bunch of blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tall people with axes and hammers living on boats as a way of life and not give a nod to like Viking culture? And you might think like, why does any of this matter? It's all made up anyway. Well, Kat, no, it's not. You're actually telling the story of real people, like Pocahontas. It's fiction rooted in real people, which in this case erases those people from any credit of their own culture. Only fiction becomes fact when it's the only version that people ever see. Ask any indigenous person how real Pocahontas turned out. And as a filmmaker myself, my commitment to the craft is about the truth, because good filmmakers want to tell the most authentic version of a story, even if it's fictional. Exploitative filmmaking doesn't aim to tell the most honest story. They go for the cheapest version that appeals to the widest market. And that market is usually shaped towards the understanding of a people or culture. So should filmmakers be allowed to make whatever they want? Could Zoe Saldana play Nina Simone? Sure. Would it be the most honest rendition of that story? Probably not. And why does this matter in context to Avatar? Because it takes the cultural and underdog humanness of a place like South Sudan, the youngest country in the world, which quite literally defied every eye, that world building, to Hollywood. And I promise you that Hollywood is not building the future. It just continues to cosplay and recycle these types of stories, strips them for aesthetics, repackages them with CGI, AI, and then calls it innovation. But this is why I love AI, because it is democratizing means of production. So I don't have to wait for my story to be greenlit. So if you truly love Avatar and you want to support the real life people and culture that inspire, follow, and share. Okay, bye. Okay, I just have to get this off of my chest. The Avatar franchise